All right, so thank you. We're calling the Neshoba Regional School Committee meeting to order at 5 o'clock. Tonight's agenda is specifically 2 interviews of our remaining 2 finalist candidates for the superintendent position. And our first candidate is Dr. Jahmal Mosley, and he will be coming in momentarily. Hello. Welcome.
Hello, Neshoba. How are we doing?
How are you?
All right.
Good.
Hi, Dr. Mosley.
Hey, Dr. Mosley, how are you?
Welcome to this afternoon, despite the rain.
That's for sure. Thank you for coming. I think we'll do a quick introduction of ourselves, give you a couple minutes. We have 11 questions we'd like to ask you.
Okay.
We're going to dedicate an hour and 15 minutes, and then we'd like to save about 15 minutes for you to ask us questions and interact a little bit if you'd like to do that.
That'd be great.
And then a quick wrap up. Sound good?
All right.
Okay. Kathy, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kathy Tier, and I'm from Lancaster.
And I'm Mark Jones. I'm from Stowe.
I'm Lorraine Ramasco from the town of Bolton.
Hi, Dr. Mosley. Nice to see you again. Nicole from Stowe.
Hi, Kathy Codian from Lancaster.
Lincoln Stowe.
And good to see you again, Neil Darcy from Bolton.
All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about you, take a couple minutes to give us a quick overview, and then we'll get started.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me back. I feel like this is like kind of like the Truman Show. It's like surreal. I have to confess, I've been watching YouTube a lot, so I feel like we're kind of like I'm on YouTube, so to speak.
You are?
That's
Yes, you are.
So my wife is probably going to say, "Do not sit there and bullet off everything. Talk to it." So you have my resume. Tonight, what I really want to do is show you Jahmal, both the person and the administrator and the superintendent. I don't want to sell you on anything. I want you to see if this is a good match for you and a good match for me. I bring passion to education. I'm not looking for a job. I have a profession already. I'm looking for a community, or in this case, communities, to really grow my practice as a leader, my practice as a superintendent. I'm very interested in what has been happening in this district for quite some time. I was very selective. I've done some research. One of the things that was striking to me, and as I was doing my research, I realized that my skill set would be, I would say, compatible to the Neshoba Regional Schools, and I plan on sharing that with you. I would say that for me, the most striking thing as I was watching the YouTube, I saw the chair said on the March 10th that if you are a superintendent and you're interested in coming to Neshoba, we care a lot, we have a lot, I'm paraphrasing what you said.
You're doing all right.
We have a lot of supportive faculty, we have a lot of supportive families. Our staff are incredible. And if you're interested in coming and you're interested in being a part of that, then we welcome you. And for me, that resonated. For me, that really meant something. I watched the school committee, you ask critical questions and good questions, and I see some collaboration, which is exciting. I'm an assistant superintendent now in Sharon. It is a high-performing district. I think we mirror some of the expectations you have here in the Neshoba Regional School District, and it's great to be here.
Wonderful, terrific, thank you. Okay, so as we go through the questions, I'm going to watch the clock so we don't steal any of your 15 minutes.
Okay.
So if we start to veer left or right, because we like to talk, I'm going to tap us back in place if that's okay. All right?
Okay, no
Kathy,
problem.
actually, Kathy, it's not Kathy, it's
It's
Kathy. Kathy, you have the first question.
Okay. What are the leadership qualities and skills that you look for in the principals and administrators you hire? Describe ways in which you have supported the development of these qualities and skills in the principals and administrators you have worked with.
One of the things I think of when I think of administrator and a principal is that do they have the capacity to empower people? Do they have the capacity to lead? And what I mean by that, do they have a vision of what they want their buildings to look like? And having a vision, I think, is essential. If you're a micromanager, you don't trust your faculty, you don't listen, then you're not going to be effective, and that's not a quality that I espouse in any way. I think a principal or a building leader needs to have the capacity to empower his or her faculty, really provide them with the resources they need to do their job, provide them with constructive feedback on their teaching practice and the way that they facilitate, I would say, the everyday operations of their school. I would like to see principals build professional learning communities within their schools, have time for professional development, meaningful professional development, so that teachers can always, I used this word in my last interview, I said the initial interview, I don't believe a principal should be monitoring people in terms of how they're proving that they're achieving the standards, proving that they're okay teachers. I believe a principal's essential quality, or building leader's quality, is to teach people to move from that mindset of proving to improving your practice, improving the way you engage students, improving your differentiated instruction. Building principals, my expectation is that in addition to leading your schools, is that you also are a good colleague. You also can actually talk and work with different building administrators. You're not just a silo by yourself, but actually someone who can collaborate. So, for instance, if you're working at the center school, can you call, I believe it's, she was sitting to my right here, Laura Friends from the Burbank Middle School. Can you give her a call and say, hey, I have a problem. Can you reach out and get some help? And so I really expect building principals, when I hire them, to be building leaders, to be able to empower their faculty, to put the students first, and also to be effective colleagues as well.
Okay, one follow-up. What qualities and skills do you expect principals to seek in hiring teaching staff?
Okay. I think I believe that building principals need to look at how do teachers talk about students? Do they talk about all students, or they just talk about one particular subgroup of students? When you're interviewing the candidates, right now we're interviewing a FLES teacher, and one of the things I'll just say, are they willing to learn? Are they just stuck in one mindset? I think that's important. Are they willing to take feedback? Sometimes hearing constructive feedback can be a challenge for teachers. Hiring new teachers is also nice in a sense that when you're looking at teachers, yes, you have the credentials, yes, you have the education, but also, are you willing to grow? Are you willing to engage in professional development? Are you willing to seek out your mentor to get some feedback? Are you willing to, I would say, right now in the state of Massachusetts, there's a great deal of emphasis on social emotional learning. There's a great emphasis on our ELL students, I call them ESOL, English speakers of other languages. So how does that teacher really incorporate his or her practice in addressing the multitude of needs within that school, within his or her classroom? So the qualities that I look for, and I would expect a building principal to look for in a teacher, is a teacher that puts students first, that has the ability to grow in terms of their approach to teaching, keeping the education student focus, keeping the instruction student focus, and more importantly, what I would say, I like to use the word reflective practitioner. Is that person reflective in their skill set, in their assessment, instruction, and teaching?
Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, Len, the next question is yours.
So can you give an example of when, where, and why an initiative in teaching and learning was implemented in your district, how it was managed, assessed, and promoted, and were the results as expected? And if not, what remedial action was taken?
I'll just go with my FLES program. The FLES program, I'm using this like this acronym as if you know it, but you don't know it. You know? It's called a foreign language in the elementary school. And there is a little bit of a caveat to this story that I'm going to share with you. It won't be too long. But this program, the foreign language in the elementary school, and I apologize if I have my back to you. This is intended for you too, so they can hear me. But the foreign language in the elementary school program was a program that started about maybe 6 or 7 years ago in the Sharon Public Schools. And basically, the long and the short of it was Mandarin, and it was a complete failure for a variety of reasons. So one of the things the superintendent charged me of, he said, Jahmal, we have to get this FLES program up and running, and it's your challenge to do it. Mind you, I was already behind the 8 ball a little bit because the program was not successful. So one of the things that I had to do was, number one, get parents involved, survey parents, get the communities to buy into that vision. What does that, I always use this term, what does the FUS program look like? Get a vision for it. Don't just do willy-nilly. So we got that feedback from the parents in terms of a foreign language that they wanted within their schools, which was Spanish overwhelmingly. We asked parents to be a part of that process too. We asked them to help us develop curriculum. We asked parents to actually sit on our hiring committee for our teachers so that they can play a part in that role. We actually had school committee members who were champions of it, and I will just say there were some who were skeptical of that as well. Moving that forward, once we hired the teachers, once we decided on the language, which was Spanish, once we started, I say, drafting a vision, because I think a vision is one of those things you always go back. I call it organic. And organic in a sense that a vision is always alive, it's fluid, and every year we always go back to assess that. I'm just looking at how is it managed, assessed, and promoted. Number one, we hired good people. We go back to that question about hiring good people. We hired good people that really believed and had a passion for this. We assessed it through what I call program evaluation. So our program evaluation consists of, first part is like the assessment, description, and then we have another phase of it where after 1 year, we are actually going to assess it again. And our assessment, we didn't just come up with willy-nilly, so to speak. We actually followed a model that was already there in place. And that model is very consistent and reflective of the DDM model from the state, district determined measures. So using that model, we were able to say, okay, in terms of how we are going to assess this program, we're just going to follow what the state has in mind. Now, for a foreign language, they call them I can statements. So I can say my name in Spanish. I can grade you, it's grade 1. So it's not conversational. It's just very like me llamo Jahmal. So we created I can statements using the DDM model. We use videos so that we were able to record students at the beginning of their journey into a foreign language. So in September 1st, they were, me amo, and they was like, the pronunciation wasn't great. Long and short of it, in June, they were introducing themselves, they were giving directions, they were counting to 30. We say 30, actually 31, because that allows them to actually be able to say the dates. So, June 31st or whatever it is. So don't quote me, it might. Spanish is not good. I don't even know if it's Juno, so I don't know if the Spanish teacher's here, but I apologize for that. But anyways, the assessment pieces, we were able to really show what I call the growth of the program. And that was critical because there were skeptics of this program. But this was $62,000 initially that we had planned for, but we also planned to grow this program into the other grades. When you look at $62,000 and you multiply that over a course of 4 grades, you're talking about $359 and some change. I have it in my mind because people ask me. But that's $359,000 that we were going to make a commitment to in Sharon for indefinitely. So we really had to have our vision together. We really had to have our assessment together. And more importantly, talk about promoting. We went out and we just did I call it the Traveling FUS program. We went to all 3 schools. We went to PTO meetings. We went to all of these different events so that we could share and tell the narrative of what this FUS program looked like. The results of this program were great. When I say they were great, I say great, and I'll just put a caveat around them. They're great in the sense we got funding to expand the program into grades 2. And that's exciting. I was actually talking to the FUS facilitator here, and she was, and you have to have good camaraderie when you're doing these programs. And she said to me, Jahmal, if the teacher didn't call us, we got to do another interview search. And we have a great relationship, but it was really exciting. When you take something that has not been successful and you make it come to fruition, it's really exciting. What are your roles in planning and assessment of leadership? So, I believe I answered that question.
I think you did. I think you did. Thank you. Okay, Kathy, Tier.
Hey, how are you?
How do you determine the success of your district? What key performance indicators do you use to help identify weaknesses and to monitor progress?
One of the things I think of when I think of success, I like to put a plural on that, say success is, and we do a good job, we do an adequate job of what I call triangulating the data. we don't just use one data point for measuring success. So in Sharon, we took Park this year, and we were looking to really do well in Park. We did extremely well. We were probably one of the top, I'd say 10 districts, and top 20 district. I think we were like number 10 or 11 within the district that did really well with Park. We were happy about that. But as your superintendent, I'm always thinking, how do we get better? So one of the things we looked at subgroups. We looked at special education. We looked at the ESOL students, ELL students, and we noticed that those kids could have done a little better. So we did success. Our success isn't measured by one student. It's actually measured by our entire student population. And it's how everyone does. And that's critical to us. We look at standardized tests, which in this case would be Park. At the high school level, we actually looked at our graduation rate, which is pretty high for us. We're at 98 point something something. We also have internal mechanisms for our assessments as well. So for instance, you use the Ames web here, is that correct? And Neshoba, I actually took a look at that on the website. We also use something very similar to that. I mentioned in my first interview, called iReady. And iReady is an internal assessment we use to gauge students who are what we call on the border, not doing well. And from there, we use RTI. We use PBIS. Those types of programs helps us get a gauge on how those students are doing. With that said, we use formative assessments to gauge how students are progressing through the discipline. And so when we look at, just kind of coming back to the first question, how do you determine the success of your district? We use a multitude of assessments to tell that narrative of success. At the elementary school, we have standardized tests, we have formative assessments, we have iReady. We also have report cards as well. We also communicate in terms of progress reports for students coming back, and that's also students, how they're doing in the classroom, and that's also for our elementary and middle school as well. And certainly at the high school, it's a little bit more formal when you have like formative assessments such as SAT scores, report cards, and I would say SAT scores. What key performance indicators do you use to help identify? I think I already answered that.
I think you did. Thank you. Lynn, you have the next question?
Give an example of a time when your particular skill set and interests helped change and improve the overall culture of your current district.
Okay. Give an example of a time. I would like to go back to my time as a principal. One of the things that happened when I was a principal, we were in the process of going through a new building project. And this new building project was immense. I mean, we didn't know whether we were going to get the funding for it. We didn't know whether we were going to get the project off the ground. So one of the things I said, listen, let's all get together. Let's outline our expectations. Let's outline our concerns. Let's get together and let's tell that narrative of why we're so concerned. And so one of the things I did is just listen to people, talk to people. And sure enough, they were like, okay, we can do this, okay. We outlined, we said, okay, what's your concern? Okay, how can we alleviate that concern? And people slowly started to air their concerns, but they also started talking about solutions. And as a building leader, I was like, okay, you know what? I have concerns too. I have concerns about timeline. I have concerns about budget. I have concerns about whether we can make this happen. But one of the things I'm sharing with you is like we get all your concerns out, but this also has a transformational piece to it too, because people start to say, we can do this. It's not about me as the building principal trying to move this forward. It's about people saying we can actually move this forward as a district. My skill set is that I believe in getting out of people's way to let them do their jobs. I don't believe in micromanaging anyone. I believe that by letting people do their jobs and let them lead their buildings helps empower them to be better leaders. I also believe that people should make mistakes as well. I know as sometimes we're very adverse to mistakes, but I'm actually not. I think you grow from making mistakes. And I think as your superintendent, I can certainly be helpful in helping people identify areas of growth. You want me to read the next question?
It's your time.
Okay, so what lights up? What makes me proud of my vocation?
Yeah.
What makes me proud of my vocation is that I bring passion to education. I love what I do. I'm passionate about how I conduct myself as an individual. I'm passionate about how we can move forward, and my personal belief system is that when you bring passion, people follow you. They understand who you are. They understand that you are by far the leader of the district, and that you can definitely be proud of what you do.
Very
It's a little
good.
hot in here, so I apologize.
No, I'll lead up in there, open your
So
window.
sorry about that. When you're bald, you can see actually. So that's not fair. You can't laugh because you got
No,
hair.
it's all right.
So-
It's all right.
So believe me, I'm not nervous.
We don't know where we're all gonna end up in this
Do
life,
you want the
so.
AC on? Should we put the AC on?
To the window.
I'll sacrifice myself. Thank you.
So I apologize if the baldness is getting to you. It's just getting.
Nothing wrong with that. All right. Mr. Jones.
All right, the Neshoba District has an annual budget of over $54 million. Like most districts, we have pressures of balancing high-quality education with our students and ensuring that we spend our tax dollars well. Please tell us your experiences with creating and managing budgets and collaborating, and what budget transparency means with you.
Okay. One of the things I believe is that the budget starts at the ground level. In other words, it starts very early, and in Sharon, we actually start the budget in early October. And we start with, I would say, a budget justification sheet. We actually ask building principals, what do you need to move to grow your budget and to move your building forward? We start with what we call building narratives. And the building principal actually tells the narrative of what they need in their buildings. We also start with programs, the programs that they need within their buildings. So we get a program narrative. We also identify if this is going to be a short-term, that feels good. Thank you for that, I appreciate that. We also start with a program narrative where we have coordinators, whether they're content coordinators, ELA, ELL coordinators, math coordinators. I know you have a STEAM or STEM coordinator here. They start outlining their concerns and what they're asking for budgets. I know that Dr. Bates made a request probably like maybe in early March, and I said it in my first interview, where he was requesting a ELL teacher and said it was a necessity. And I was jumping up on the screen, I said, that's me too, because I need the same teacher. And that's a mandate that's coming from the state. And part of what I supervise the ELL in my own district, and that's not something that we can control, but certainly that's something that's going to have a budget implication. So when we ask building principals for a budget, when we ask programs, we have to consider state mandates as well. So we start building that budget process and telling that narrative of what we need for a budget at a very early age. I mean, not age, but time, excuse me. Part of what we like to do too is that the budget is transparent. Not one person should have control over the budget. The budget should be transparent, and I would say easy to read. And what I mean by that is that as your superintendent, I should be able to articulate your budget. As building principals, they should be able to articulate the budget. As school committee members, I know there's a budget subcommittee here. That subcommittee should be able to talk about the budget as well, because you have different people talking about the budget, which means that everyone understands what's going on. And that's critical. And that's what we have going on at the Sharon Public Schools. And we're very proud of that. When we get our, what I call the number from priorities, which is 3.18 this year, and that's like, we have like a priorities that comes from the town, and it basically tells us that your budget cannot exceed 3.18%. We make sure that our budget falls within that. I noticed, Kathy, that when you were talking a little bit about collective bargaining this year around the contract negotiations, is that correct?
Perhaps.
Okay.
It'll come back.
I watch it, well, that actually has an implication on our budget. And it has an implication on our budget this year, and I can't tell you the number, but we actually had to set aside a certain amount of money for our budget, because when we are negotiating, we're negotiating right now with our STA, that we have to set aside a certain amount of money to make sure that we're negotiating in good faith. But that has an implication on your budget. So with all of those variables coming together, we start to generate a budget, and we have a budget, we call it budget binder. On the top of the binder there, on the sheet of the binder, is what we have, like we call it the spreadsheet. And it's not a little spreadsheet, it's a long spreadsheet. But it lets us know exactly what it takes to roll our budget forward. Retirements, collective bargaining initiatives that we have going on in the district as well. Our budget is connected to our strategic action plan, so what's it going to take to accomplish the initiatives within our strategic action plan. And personnel, and what I call the final number. When we bring it to the school committee, we talk about, we give a budget overview. We talk about the needs of the district. We talk about how those needs are matched with the budget. We talk about retirement. We talk about retirement. We talk about new personnel. We talk about collective bargaining. We talk about programs, any types of facilities or managements that we need within that district. For that particular year, we address that. And then we have that budget there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, Neil. I think Neil.
Yes. Dr. Mosley, tell us about your experience in integrating technology into teaching and learning. What challenges you faced with individual stakeholders, and how you measure whether technology is effective in increasing student achievement.
One of the things that technology is here to stay. I enjoy technology. Technology integration, I said this at the beginning, I said it in my last interview, I say it here in front of the school committee. The device doesn't drive the curriculum drives the device. It's so easy to go out and buy 15 HP computers or 1,000 of them. But you shouldn't do that. You should look at your curriculum and say, this is the device you need for your curriculum. Technology integration starts with understanding where you'd like to take the students through the curriculum. And technology is a nice vehicle to help kids access what I call that journey of education. It's a tool to do that. Part of that means that we have to teach students how to use devices responsibly. And what I mean by responsibly is that I'm assuming you have acceptable use policy, which is something that I'm going to say to you I actually don't agree with, because that's not 21st century. You should actually have a responsible user policy, because you want students to be responsible digital learners. I'll say it 100 times to all of our kids. You want students to understand that you want your digital imprint to be responsible, respectful, and culturally appropriate. So when you look at technology, technology is a great vehicle to facilitate teaching. I did watch Mrs. Campbell's presentation on Kahoot that was done at the school committee in November, which was great. I love the fact that kids can collaborate over the network. I saw that students were using Google Docs, which is incredible. That's great. I believe in technology integration in a sense that you can actually collaborate in a way that facilitates learning in a very different way. With that said, there's online opportunities for students where I call pajama PD for teachers, but also you can actually, through Schoology, there's a nice program we use in Sharon called Schoology. And what the teacher can actually do is literally teach a course using the entire teach a course like she's taping herself teaching a course, or himself, teaching a course, and then post it online. Then the kids can go and they can actually receive that information and actually interact and turn it into their work. It's phenomenal because we have kids who are out sick, kids that miss work, and they don't miss a beat because we are able to use technology and integrate that into their learning. Teachers, I'm a proponent of actually providing PD for teachers over online. One of the things that I actually created using a digital platform called Edivate is actually around compliancy training and compliancy training, what I did is I actually created an online, exclusively, I can email the link to teachers, and they can get complete online training on harassment, 504 training, special education. So that way that it's totally independent, has different modules, and that it's self-pacing as well. When you begin to build what I call a digital environment within your schools, online collaboration, Wi-Fi, the talk of technology becomes ubiquitous. Ubiquitous in a way that it becomes part of your practice, and it only gets better. Just kind of making the connection between the digital pieces and what's really going on at the state. The Commissioner Chester has said in 2019, I believe, that they're looking to have MCAS 2.0 completely online and accessible to our students. So the digital platform is actually coming and here to stay. I have the skill set to definitely facilitate that within your district.
Great, thank you. Nicole?
Have you had to deal with children or families in distressful situations, and without identifying anyone, without being, if you could, not identify anyone, we'll see. I feel like a Beyonce in this.
I know.
Thing. It's a little distracting.
I'm turning it off for a second, sorry. I'll turn it back on.
Was there something in that situation that moved you to action? And were you able to learn something that you could then apply to the larger school populations?
Yeah. Yes, I can. One of the things that we, as an assistant superintendent, you get reports of bullying harassment. This is something that happens, and there's that. I'm trying to formulate this so I don't identify the person or the family. You get a situation where there was a student who was just having a difficult time fitting in. That's all. Difficult time fitting in. And when you have a person that's socially awkward, it comes to the point where they're having these awkward interactions and they're coming off as just bullying. And the principal was trying to explain to the parent that it wasn't bullying, but the child was awkward. The parent wasn't listening to the parent. It just became this, that's it, I'm calling the superintendent. I'm getting up there, I'm calling the superintendent. So I went to the superintendent said, Mosley, come over here for a second. You deal with this for a second. So I sat down with the parent, and one of the things that came, and the principal, we talked about this. We talked about the issues that were going on. And it became quite clearly that this particular student was just shy and just really had, I would say, I'm not a doctor, I'm a fake doctor. I'm not like I'm an educational doctor, but I'm not a medical doctor. But this particular student just was socially awkward and really wanted to connect with this young lady, but just couldn't. And so I talked to the young lady that was being affected by this. And I tried to say, just take yourself out of your shoes for a second and just put yourself in this particular student's shoes. And the mother was like, huh? I said, yeah, he doesn't have any friends. He's struggling to do things. So when you take yourself out of your own comfort zone and you put yourself into someone else's comfort zone, you begin to understand and you sympathize with that particular person. We got the families together, we mediated, we talked about different things. We talked about the need to understand each other. We were able to come to like an agreement of, okay, you can, when you want to connect with this girl, I'm kind of talking in metaphors here, but if you want to connect with this particular girl, just say hello to her. Don't go up there and just get into her personal space. Say hello. We help this student develop what I say coping skills or coping mechanisms to interact with that person. Where I'm going with this is that when we talk about students with social emotional needs and children, when we talk about like taking action, one of the actions that I did is that I tried, and I say try because it's always ongoing, to teach people empathy, to teach them how to be empathetic to each other.
I want to ask a quick follow-up question. You guys okay with this?
Yes.
So you sat down and you talked with a student who was needed some guidance. Did you have a conversation with the student who was on the receiving end of it?
Oh, yes. I mean, absolutely. Part of it is that in helping that person understand how it feels not to have friends. Like helping that student understand that this person is sometimes in some social emotional, I hate to use the word crisis, but certainly just be empathetic about that person. And not everyone, we all come to this world, we all come to situations very, very differently. For a variety of reasons. But this, I said ongoing, because this wasn't a one-shot deal. I'm always checking in. I call dipsticking with kids, even with parents too. Listen, this was a difficult situation for your child. I know that. This was a difficult situation for your child as well. There's no winners or losers here, but certainly there's understanding.
Great. Okay. I have the next question, but I want to tell you that you are doing so well with time. Take what you need.
Okay.
Don't feel that you have to rush. Okay. Please tell us about a time when various stakeholders in the community were divided on an issue. How did you work with the different groups to resolve the issue? And how would you work to maintain cohesive community relations? So I'm not so much interested in the issue, the crisis. I'm more interested in how did you work with the groups to resolve it, and then moving it forward, how did you ensure you could maintain those community relations?
Okay, so a couple things. One of the things I think that was a little controversial for us was building of the new high school. And that's in Somerset, Berkeley, when I was a principal. That was controversial in a way that not everyone thought that we needed a new high school. It was controversial in the sense that people said it's just a renovation. Working with different individuals required me to actually have conversations with key stakeholders. So we sat down with selectmen and Somerset Berkeley's 2 districts. So we sat down in Somerset with selectmen. We sat down in Berkeley with selectmen as well. We talked about that. Rather than phrasing it as an economic piece, like, listen, this is a brand new building, we said, no, don't look at it that way. Look at it as an economic growth for our kids. This isn't a building for kids. This is a building for our community. This is a building that, what we have now is we have the seniors now can come in, like the senior center, they can come in now and use the building. So this is an economic growth for our kids and for our building, for our students. Being cohesive means having difficult conversations. Being cohesive means listening to each other, and that's exactly what we did. We talked about the building. We talked about how this would be great for our community. We talked about how we had a shared vision for this building, and more importantly, we wanted this building to be for our communities. So that was something that we were able to do. The bottom line is we were very successful in doing this. In a sense that our building was built, our community members were pleased with it. Is it happy-go-lucky? We're all smiling and stuff? No, we're not doing that now. But are we having conversations we didn't have before? Absolutely. Are we still engaged in that process of listening? Yes. Before we weren't. But the new building project at Somerset Berkeley was controversial, but it also brought our communities together, and I was very pleased with that.
Okay, Mark, you have the next question.
Tell us how a district can effectively handle many kinds of learning abilities and styles among pupils and can avoid the one-size-fits-all approach to education. Likewise, how can it be done efficiently and financially?
One of the things I think of is that there is no one-size-fits-all. And when you're talking about students with disabilities, talking about students on 504 plans, we talk about differentiating the instruction. We talk about engaging kids using a variety of modalities. Mr. Darcy talked about technology. There are other forms of professional development where you can actually differentiate your instruction to the point where you can use visuals, you can use listening mechanisms. One of the things I believe is that when you're trying to engage all learners, you should present it in all different forms. The financial resources that can, how can it be done using financial resources efficiently? It's important to understand that there are limitations in terms of how much you can purchase. So I think my first thoughts is prioritize what you need to purchase. Prioritize what you believe will be effective for kids. So we talked a little bit about technology. One of the things I find when you have technology available to you, like iPads, I think you use here Chromebooks, is that correct? You're able to, you can purchase different software programs that are engaging for what I call visual learners. You can also have audio programs as well that are engaging for people who are, students who are auditory learners. I believe that when you think of students through what I call a multitude of lenses, you're able to understand that learning is complex. Learning involves students who are, I would say, unique, but also you have to make sure that you provide appropriate resources for them.
Okay, thank you. And Kathy?
What are your strategies for fostering a positive relationship with the school committee regarding A, making educational policy for the district, and B, creating a solid administrative and policy-making team that supports the district goals and objectives?
One of the things I think is communication. That's important. As your superintendent, I will not act out of malice. I will always keep you informed. I will never make a decision without you knowing. I will, as your leader, I think it's important that, I know you're the chair, going through the chair to make sure when we set agenda items, that it's very clear in terms of where we're going with agenda items. I think by far having budgetary constraints and budgetary concerns, it's always good to make sure that everyone is informed. I would ask that as your superintendent to please let me run the schools, and in turn, I will keep you abreast of what's going on in the schools. I think Dr. Bates does a nice job doing that as well. I appreciate his turning over the new leaf piece. And as your superintendent, I will certainly, within my first 8 days, give you some information in terms of what I see and how I can be helpful to facilitating learning. When it comes to policies, the school committee approves the policy, but also the superintendent administrators also help craft and draft the policies as well. So one of the things I noticed in the NEAS report at the high school had to do around weighted grades and how to do that and how to approve it and the pathway to that. I could certainly be helpful in that endeavor in a sense that I've worked on something like that. Really quick, weighted grades, when you have a policy, at your schools, it starts off at the schools. You can draft it, you can vote it. What I mean by that is school council. You look at your school council, weighted grades is drafted, reviewed by the faculty, reviewed by the teachers. School council reviews it, approves it. Then it can come to the, at this level, the school committee level. School committee looks at it, approves it, and then it goes into the handbook, and that becomes the policy, so to speak. I kind of did like abbreviated version of that. But it allows you to understand that school committee has the authority to approve policy, whereas the building administrators and myself, as your superintendent, would be effective in facilitating that.
Thank you. And our last question is from, I know, so you get a half an hour if you want to engage with us. Kathy here.
Why is it time for you to move on, and where do you want to take the district?
I look at match. I believe that it's imperative to review and say, what's a district that I can see myself grow? I have been receiving invitations to apply for superintendencies since the beginning of the year, and I've actually turned them down. And my wife said to me, Jahmal, you can't keep doing this. Either you're going to do it or not. So just to be very honest with you, fairly recently, I just started to apply. And now I'm like, oh, shucks me, I decided to apply. I also want to go back that I have the student loans to prove that I'm ready to actually do this. So this is something that I have been planning to do for quite some time. I have always had endeavors to be a superintendent. I believe that's something I would say I practiced to do it. I wrote my dissertation on the principalship, but I also wrote it on leadership as well. And writing is something that's one component of it, but practicing it is one thing. And so writing my dissertation on leadership, writing my dissertation on moving a district, on a school forward, I actually was able to put that into practice when I was a building principal. When I was a building principal, I showed up to my school, and it was a level 2 school, and people were pretty comfortable with that. I actually was not. I said, that's not something that I really want to do. I actually want to move my school forward. With that said, I put my leadership into practice. I made some changes, and we not only did we become a level 1 school 2 years in a row, but we also became a model accommodation school for the state. I'm confident that I can bring that skill set here to the Neshoba Regional School District. I'm confident that I work in a high performing district. I know this district is high performing as well. Not to sound competitive, but I know that we can be there as well. I say we because I believe that I can do that here and be very successful. And I know that you have the faculty, the passion, the resources to do that, and the interest. It's just what you said in your school committee meeting. Where do you want to take the district? That would say, for me, and maybe I'm just kind of reading into this, and you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, it's not about where I want to take it, it's actually where you want to take it, where the faculty wants to take the district. I can't do it on my own. I can't do it solely. So part of one of my questions has to do with strategic planning. Where do you want to take the district school committee members, faculty? How do you see yourself? My question I ask new employees every single year is, I ask new employees coming into the district, where do you see yourself in 5 years? How much time do you want to give yourself to really say, we are the top district and top regional district in Massachusetts? And that's a question that we can answer together. From my perspective, I am never comfortable with mediocrity. I'm not here to, I don't sit in front of you to say that I'm looking for a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal and then I'm done. That's not me. I'm not looking to take it down in any way. I'm actually looking to really kind of move things forward and make an investment.
Great.
That's a good one. So we have finished our formal questions, but we have time. So if you have questions for us, we would be happy to answer them. I am freezing. I'd like to.
I'm so sorry.
But you know what? I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with it for 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna shut it off.
Shut it off. I'm good.
All right, I keep watching you, so see, that helps me to gauge how you're doing. Okay.
Now, if we have,
Do you have any questions for us?
yes, just curious. I've read, like where I have read a great deal about your building of a new high school and facilities and stuff like that. I understand that. But one of the things that I haven't heard too much about is just facilities for the elementary schools and how they're doing. And just kind of an interest in that. I know there's been a lot, but is there a committee? I know Bob Zeminski
Skansky? Yeah.
has been spearheading that for the high school, but I haven't heard anything for the middle school in terms of like some capital projects, or just kind of who's watching that store, so to speak?
So we don't have any capital projects this year, but maybe, Lynn, do you want to talk about the center school project?
Well, not too long ago, the Humboldt School, which was catered to, was considered obsolete. So we combined it with Center School. And so they did a reno addition in Europe, what, about 3 years ago? So they're pretty much fine. Hale, we're still working off of a renovation.
In 1998.
Yeah, we're still working on that. We've had a couple of renovations since then, just small ones.
Perhaps.
Yeah. And then Lancaster.
Lancaster, I think, is
It's pretty new.
it's 1999,
Yeah.
I think, is our elementary.
Mm.
And our middle school is adjoined, and I can't tell the difference. I think they both look the same. It's really well kept school.
And then in Bolton, I think the new Sawyer building opened in 1997, 98? Is that right?
Yep.
And we do have students in this building, so it's not just the central office, but I think it's 3-4 in pre-K, is that right? 3-4 in pre-K in this building because we kind of outgrew our space over there. But we don't have any other major capital projects in the offing other than the discussion and decision about the high school. And that's something that we know we have to tackle by January. Mark, do you want to add
We're
something?
also a little unusual in that towns own the middle and elementary schools. The district is not. We're in possession of them as a lessee.
I see.
So it's really the town owns them and then provides them to the district. So that's just a little bit of a hybrid compared to most regional districts.
You asked me my perspective on success. I'm going to kind of ask the question back. And as a collective school committee, could you identify through your prisms or lens of how you define success within your district?
Oh, that's a good question, and I'm not answering it. I'm going to make everybody else answer that one. Let's start with Neil.
Me?
Yeah.
We've been starting with Kathy already.
I know, but I figured I'd mix it up.
A little bit. You know, that it is an interesting question. And, I think there's many different elements to that, Dr. Mosley. I think success is as defined by the community, right, in us achieving that success. I can't say as we actually have something specific that's well defined as far as an entire district. I mean, we have district improvement plans, we have various elements, but we haven't been the best at necessarily tracking them or setting goals, or so I would define success as having not only a well-run school with great scores, but students that walk out ready to take on the world, that graduate from high school. I think having cutting edge, and when I say cutting edge, I'm talking bringing technology in to use as a tool to be able to reach each individual learner. Because I think we could definitely use that help, and I see that as being, from hearing from teachers, that's a real potential. So I say success is going to change what we view it now. Will be a little bit different maybe a couple of years from now, hopefully.
Lynn?
I actually like the question because we have not talked about that. I actually, just with my kids, the fact that they love going to school and I just get to watch them grow. I mean, somebody engaged. When I see engaged kids, I'm happy.
Kathy?
Oh, I'm thinking about the difference between success and being successful and the action of the activity of monitoring your own success, defining it. And for me, I mean, a lot of schools, especially schools like Neshoba and other schools, and I'm sure Sharon is one, excellent is thrown around. We're an excellent school system, but what does it mean? And I was in, I think it's Sudbury, one of their mottos is improving on excellence. And so excellence isn't at the end of your destination. Once you get there, then what? Now what? And to me, success is that you're constantly striving, not to the point of making yourself crazy or stressed out, but what's next for me? And I think if we can give students that notion or instill that in them, it's not about the test scores. It's about, what do I want to do? How am I going to get there? Who's going to help me? And how can I learn to be independent, responsible, and a contributor? And to me, if we create students like that and the adults in the district work like that, to me, that's a successful district.
Nicole?
I like what she said. I think this particular committee has done a really great job in the last year coming together as a regional school committee And I think we've set a very good example of what a regional school committee would look like. And I would like, and I think it's happening, but across the entire district now that we become a regional district. We have town buy-in, we have community buy-in, and getting the schools to really work together and be one district. That's what I'm looking for, is, as far as the next step is concerned. What that obviously means is a successful graduate at the end of all this. That's I think what we all want, is every kid who graduates from our high school to go out there confident in what they have chosen to pursue, and even if they haven't chosen anything, confident that they will eventually find that and be successful.
Mark?
I think one measure that you're seeing is that we have not really had a good conversation about what success means to us, and likewise to our communities. And I think just having that conversation is one measure of success, and having that be a continuing conversation. And similarly, I think as a regional school district, I think it's an attribute of most regional districts that communities feel disconnected and are disconnected in some ways from what is going on in the school, and figuring out how to influence and participate in it. And I think having a stronger sense of influence in both directions would be another measure of success. I think having our young people leave school with a genuine kind of confidence that comes from both understanding themselves and people around them, as well as understanding what it's like to learn about things that you don't know about, is another measure as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to repeat, so I liked what everyone said. I liked what you said about not proving improving. To me, that is successful, because you can reach any level, like Kathy said, you can get to excellent, but to me, it's about the continuous wheel, and it's not about the new buzzword or the new thing to throw at the district. It's about, where are the kids not 100% engaged? Where, you also mentioned PLCs, where are the teachers that can get more from each other or hone their craft? Where are those pockets? Let's just keep going. Let's be that next level, always. So I liked, based on what you said, to me, that's bringing success.
I don't know if it's a result of the fact that we have worked so closely and so much together, but my comments really echo almost everything you guys said. And this is a term from the 90s, but still going with it because it works for me. But I really believe in continuous improvement, as long as you're identifying when you reach a threshold that does define success for you at that moment. Whenever that was that you defined, we want to be here, and then you get there, and then you take your break and you say, we did awesome. Didn't we look at what we did with the kids? We've defined the gaps in our student population of kids who are not getting. We don't even know what they're not getting. We need to define who those kids are. We need to understand what their needs are. We need to, and it's not just about money, and it's not just about resources. It's about understanding where those kids are. So I think that's really big, and I'm really big on no ambiguity. What is expected of me? What's expected of you? How do we work together, and how do we move things forward? And I think that, to me, that really breeds success. So it's, what's the expectation of me and my role so that we can get to where we need to go, take that break, celebrate that success, and then as a group, come back together and say, now where do we want to go? What could we do next? That's what I think success is. Neil?
Can I?
I knew you were going to do that! I knew it! That's why I started with you!
So MIT says something which I think is really, really impactful to the students when they apply, is that we will only take someone who is going to change the world. We want people who are going to change the world. I would like to see people leaving this district, graduating, thinking they have everything they're going to need to change that world. Do you know what I mean? And kind of move on from there. And that's how I would define success. And that's ever evolving, right?
We're going to be MIT.
Give us another one, because that was, whew, give us another one.
We're going to beat that one.
Don't ask me first.
Here's one of the things I think is that you, and I think this came out before in terms of strategic action planning. What is your vision as a school committee and as a district as well in terms of strategic action planning? Now, what I mean by that is that I was on your web, please, and I'm not trying to, I was on your website. It was hard for me to identify where you are at in the process. And as your superintendent, I would love to be able to, and I think I'm looking, was that Dr. Bates back there? I actually saw you at the high school today. I was just gonna try, was that you at the high school?
Yes.
Okay.
You creeping out of high school?
No, I was actually in the bushes just looking around. I was, part of where we're at right now, if I could just be serious here for a second, part of where we're at right now is our strategic action plan is expiring in 2016, 2017. And so I was looking at your strategic action plan, and I was wondering if that process has started. And for us, that process is not, it's a very prodigious undertaking, which means that you have to get many, I would say, stakeholders involved in that process. And for us, it's just Sharon, but for a school district like Neshoba, you're talking about 3 communities with a diverse, I would say, stakeholders who are going to be involved in that process. Just tell me your process that you've developed. I mean, we've already developed that process. I've been instrumental, but also that process in terms of solicitation of those stakeholders, a timeline, and I have here top priorities that you're looking to accomplish within your strategic action plan. I know you've been passionate about technology. I know there's some collective bargaining. I know there's some policy pieces. I know there's a new high school coming on, or just talking about the SOI that was recently put on hold. So how does that all kind of fitting in?
And they're all looking at me.
No.
Thank you.
No, I will be very honest, which will surprise everybody. I come from, I just retired from education. I was in education for 34 years, building principal, teacher, director of teaching and learning, blah, blah, blah. So I'm familiar with strategic action plans. And when I looked at this one, I got a headache. I couldn't figure it out. It was confusing. And I've been on the, and this is my opinion, the technology committee, which has a lot of technology stuff on the strategic action plan. And I made that comment, that this makes no sense, I don't understand it, where are the measurable goals, what are you really hoping to achieve here? You know, even the way it's set up and everything floats around, it's confusing. I think it should be simple, I think it should be easy to understand. So the questions I asked was, how was this developed? What was the process by which it happened? How were stakeholders engaged? Because in my prior life, the stuff bubbled up from the buildings, and the school council and the faculties gave input, and that would come to the administrative team and then back and forth with the school committee, and I don't get the sense that that has been the process. So I would love it if somebody, the new superintendent, would come in and give us a system that makes sense, that's easy to understand, that engages people, that really is about measuring something significant, but having those indicators. I mean, the DESE is all about SMART goals, and a lot of districts still don't put those in. There are no SMART goals in that plan. So we have a lot of work to do. And I mean, I love this place. I worked here for 10 years at one point in my career. I moved here. It's a great place. And it just, coming back into this role, I found some things distressing, because you have such wonderful constituents. You have incredible teachers. The communities are outstanding. And it seems like it's been, in some respects, a very closed system for something that's so important and that really should be driving what we do and linking to the budget. I don't see that anything like that has happened. So that's an area that needs a lot of work, and now I'll be quiet.
No, you don't have to be quiet.
Okay.
You're very passionate, but you don't have to be quiet. Nicole, do you have anything to add to that? Anyone else? Okay. Please do.
I think you've identified all of the, you might say, spinning plates that are in the air that we yet to really have
Get our arms around.
planning and planful discussion about. And I think all of us are interested in figuring out how to align them and group them together and figure out how to, over time, have them fit together. And we don't yet know.
Thank you.
You still have 10 minutes left.
Oh, that's, okay.
Was there anything? Yeah, we'll keep talking. Was there anything that you saw? It sounds like you did a lot of research on the website. You watched some meetings. Everybody, that's a reminder that people are watching these meetings. Was there anything that you saw that was either confusing or there were two sides of it and you wanted to understand the two sides of it? Anything we can clarify?
First of all, I just want to, by the way, I don't know who made the decision to, your website's really nice too. It really has a nice interface. I know that you commented on that as well in one school committee meeting. So I think it really reads nicely, so you're able to find documents pretty clearly, so that really is nice. One of the things that stands out in my mind is that and I read Dr. Bates' document on turning a new leaf in terms of some of the challenges and some of the things that are going on. You have great staff here. You have a committed staff, committed faculty, and again, that's an attraction. This committee asks critical questions, and I like the fact that I've seen Dr. Graham come up here a couple times and give some presentation. I haven't been like I'm in the room.
You've been creeping, but it's okay. It's okay.
I don't. If I'm your superintendent, I don't go around creeping around corners. I'm too big to be doing that. But I really like the collegiality in terms of seeing the coordinators come and present. The STEM coordinator came and present. There's a couple of principals that came and present, so that was really nice. One of the things that I asked a question about the elementary schools and the middle schools, and I found that there was a lease, because I know how the high school project can be a prodigious undertaking, particularly when you're dealing with the MSBA. At the same time, my question was this high school project kind of in view of everyone, but how was the feeder schools, the elementary schools, how does that complement the innovation that's going to eventually take place at the high school in terms of facilities? So in other words, let's hypothetically say this, I'm not advocating this or anything like that, but let's say in 20 years you have a new high school. How do you prepare those students at the middle school / elementary school to be able to utilize a new facility with fidelity when that occurs? So that was kind of my genesis of my question that I'm asking around the facilities at the elementary and middle school.
Is that a question or
Yes.
an observation? Because I thought it was a great observation.
It's both. I mean, if you build a state-of-the-art high school, it's like kind of having a brand-new car that can fly to the moon. But how do you prepare pilots to be able to and to use that, I would say, spaceship, so to speak, to do that?
Yeah, well, that is definitely something we're going to have to look at, because I don't know that we can answer the question
I think
right
that's
now.
what we need.
Right.
That's what the leadership that we bring on hopefully can advise us and.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about regionalization, that's kind of what I mean, the different schools and how they approach the high school. The leadership that is required there.
Right. We have a wonderful community of 3 towns, and folks, whether you have kids in the district, your kids have graduated for the district, you don't have any district or any kids in the district. Honestly, people are so supportive of our schools. They rally around the schools. Anytime the schools need something, anything extra, there are events. They're always packed. Our principals are really, they're all really involved in the community. They become part of the community. They're like leaders within each of our communities. And that is a big source of pride. I think what our challenge is now at the highest level of the district, where people don't necessarily see what's going on, we owe it to those schools and to those principals and those teachers and those students to now do what we need to do to enable them to do even more with what we can give them, with support financially or otherwise. And I think that's where we need to be right now, is what does that mean and how do we do that? Because we all want to do more and enable more, but we have to have a structure in which to do it. And I think that's been the biggest question for us.
I think we're like 3 ballerinas on a stage, and we all have the same routine we're supposed to be doing, but not everyone is quite synchronized. So it's, and that's, I think, the challenge that we're looking to do is get
Right.
all 3 towns synchronized and have that flow up smoothly to the high school.
3 ballerinas?
3 ballerinas.
That was impressive. Do you dance?
I have daughters that dance. Yes.
Well, how much time do I have?
You got what you need?
First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. It was nice to come back, to reconnect. I shouldn't say reconnect as if, but reconnect with the people who are on my search committee. I appreciate it. I'll leave with this, so I don't talk too much. First, I like to leave with this. As I said in my first interview, and I'll say it in this interview, it has nothing to do with education per se. It's about being human. I believe that we're all human first, and that means something to me. You can have all the degrees and you can have all the accolades, but if you don't treat people as if they're human beings, then you'll get nothing out of them. And that's what's shared with me with a mentor that I work with in Middleborough. And as I'll share with you as your superintendent, I will treat everyone as a human. I'll respect them. I will treat your kids as if they're my kids, and I will lead the district as if I would like to be led as well. I am by far excited to be, if I'm selected, to be part of the Neshoba regional, when I say communities and teams, and I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, school committee folks, we are going to take a 17-minute recess. Are you good with that? Okay, thank you. I think Kathy, we'll see you in a little bit. Actually, that worked out for you, huh? So, school committee, we're going to go down the hall to grab something to eat. No discussion about wonderfully collaborative, but right now we need to wait. No, we're not going to wait because she's not sure exactly when. So she said to go ahead and start. Okay. And she'll slide in. Okay.
Well, who's going to ask her question?
Lorraine.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. Are you ready? Thank you.
Chair is chair.
That was good. Okay, yes, I will. Whatever she said.
You know what, I'm just gonna run for the towel to
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, thank you.
why, what happened on there?
Just a little water.
I've got paper towels. Oh, okay.
Today is the 7th.
Today is the 7th.
She's in Arlington.
Arlington?
Yeah, that's where she
It's driving against traffic. Yeah.
The center school assistant principal for several years.
Oh, yeah.
And then she was working in she's always at the back.
Coming up from like Spy Pond and all that? Spy Pond, where the Spy
I'm happy.
Spy Pond. It is Spy Pond. Yeah. Used to live over there.
When you were younger or older?
When younger.
Right.
Lived in-
Well,
It was just outside of Davisburg. Right on the Arlington line.
okay, but that was really like, okay. Put the zip it back out.
Yeah, no, it's.
Wow, I am so impressed. It's like you were just gone. Hello, how are you? How are you? Dr. Lally, it's good to meet you. Thank you so much for coming
Well, thank you for
to
inviting
be
me.
with us and talk with us. And I think what we'll do is I'll just do a quick overview, and then we'll get started. We've got an hour and 15 minutes. We've got 11 questions, and we'll do a round robin. After we give you a couple minutes to do a brief overview, because we have reviewed your materials. And then once we've gone through the questions, there'll be about 15 minutes where you can ask us questions or follow up on something, however you want to use that time, just to interact with us, okay?
Thank you.
So why don't we go around the table and introduce ourselves, and Kathy Tier, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Tier, and I'm from Lancaster.
I'm Mark Jones, and I'm from Town of Stowe.
I'm Lorraine Ramasco from Bolton.
Dr. Lally, it's nice to see you again. Nicole from Stowe.
Kathy Codian from Lancaster.
Lynn Coletti from Stowe.
Nice to see you again. Neil Darcy from Bolton.
All right, so you want to introduce yourself to us and tell us whatever you'd like to tell us?
Well, thank you for inviting me back here tonight, and I am honored to be a finalist for your superintendency. I hope you have found that my background is aligned to the work that needs to be done here in the district. Advancing student achievement and providing for students' emotional and social support are two of the goals for any district. And I know that Neshoba Regional, it has great student success, but there are always the achievement gaps to close and looking for new ways to provide opportunities for students. These are two things that I've done in other districts, as you've probably seen on my resume. In Tewksbury, the high school was a level 2. And so through hard work and collaboration with the team, we assisted students in becoming a level 1 high school. Also in Tewksbury, I established an alternative classroom because we had students who were struggling emotionally and socially and behaviorally. So these students were on the verge of dropping out. So we decided we would try this program and we would just see what would happen. And after a number of years, all of them had graduated. So it really reduced our dropout rate, and it also increased their feelings of self-esteem. In Holbrook, that was my initial goal, was to increase student performance. They had always been a level 3 school district, and they were looking forward to being out of that category. So we worked together, and after a year, we became a level 2 district. Through the collaboration of parents, teachers, students, administrators, school committee, in the second year, we became a level 1 high school. This is, I think, a credit to teamwork. So, while I say that, it happened while I was there, it's everybody's effort that does it, and I think that's one of the strengths of any community, is really kind of getting together and moving pieces forward. Another situation was building project in Tewksbury, and I know that you have some space needs here. And I've had 2 experiences, very good experiences, working with MSBA to advance building projects. The first was in Tewksbury, and they said it would never happen, but we built a new high school. So it was during that model school program phase. So that was a great situation and a great learning process for me. When I went to Holbrook, they had been stalled for 10 years before, they hadn't moved on the building project, and now the doors will open in a year. So it's been a great experience. And working with MSBA has been delightful, because I think people think it's this formidable place, but they want to give money and they want building projects to go forward. So those are 2 things that I think those enhance the student experience, besides the fact that you need space, obviously. One of the other things that I think created a level playing field for students, both academically and socially, was putting in a full-day tuition-free kindergarten for all students. And that we did during my first month, actually, because the FinCom and the school committee said, what would you like to do? And I said, well, that would, to me, make sense, because I had been tired of explaining to people in Tewksbury why some kids got a full day, some kids didn't, and so I thought that would be a wise use of their money. So we put that in, and it was a great boon to the district, and parents have been very pleased with it, and so far, we've, done some studies that have shown that the progress that these students have made in entering first grade is incredible compared to what it had been in the past. I think that partnering with the community is one of the pieces that I have found to be very beneficial in my career, and one of the things that has enhanced student performance. So I believe that working with the school committee, working with community organizations and all stakeholders is something that I really enjoy doing, and I think it's beneficial for any district. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, we're going to start our questions now, and I would like to ask Kathy Codian to begin.
Sure. What are the leadership qualities and skills that you look for in the principals and administrators you hire? And describe ways in which you have supported the development of these qualities and skills in the principals and administrators you've worked with.
This may not seem like the most important quality, but I think a sense of humor and the ability to look at a situation and, step back from it and not stress over it. So I think that I've been fortunate to find those type of people. So they take the work seriously, but they also can lighten things up a little bit so that it's an enjoyable experience. I think that sometimes people don't realize that, we're all in this together. And if we're not finding the relationships and the camaraderie, then, why are we there? And we want the students to feel less stressed, and we want them to be happy in the environment they're in. So I believe that finding the right fit for principals is really important. They need to have all of the background and the knowledge to be good principals, but they also need to have the human aspect because they have to relate to students. And if they can't relate to their colleagues, they're going to find it hard to relate to students. And for me, that is one of the most important pieces because students spend most of their time with us. If they're home and, they're sleeping part of that time, they need to have people who care, who can show that they care, and who can, extend themselves.
Wonderful, thank you.
There's another five. I'm sorry. What skills and qualities do you expect principals to seek in hiring teaching staff?
I think, again, they need to have that human aspect. They need to see that they relate well, that when they interview them, that they're not rigid. And I think you can tell a lot from some of the questions that you ask. So I have a colleague who always asks, what do you dislike about other people? And then turns it at the end and says, and what do you think people will say they dislike about you? So, there's a little levity, but there's also, it's very telling. What is it that, are you so rigid that you can't take it when somebody, does something that you think is pretty minimal? And, how do they react to other people? So I think that you have to get those human qualities out first. And I think they need to see that the teachers will relate to students, will be willing to go the extra mile, will be willing to stay and help students after school if that's what it takes. And I think sometimes we forget to ask the question, how available are you for, helping kids and maybe seeing them in a different light, such as being a coach or being an advisor. So those are the pieces that I think, that you have to look for, that they're not coming in and just going to be there from 8 to 2 or whatever the hours are.
Lynn?
Can you give an example of when, where, and why an initiative in teaching and learning was implemented in your district, how it was managed, assessed, and promoted, and were the results as expected? If not, what remedial action was taken? Thank you.
I guess I would go with the kindergarten program because I really, had been a secondary person, and when I became the assistant superintendent in Tewksbury, I had a lot more access to little kids. And when I went to Holbrook, I said that this is something I see as a real need, that students are not prepared to for the rigors of first grade because they haven't had that experience. They haven't all had that experience. Some kids did and some kids didn't. So that I thought was something that we really need to undertake. And that could have been It could have blown up, but it turned out to be a great experience. You know, I could picture some, you know, there are some families who are really concerned about sending a little one off for a full day, and I don't blame them for that. But, you know, we were flexible, so if anybody was having a rough time, you know, a parent could come and pick up that student. But we really didn't face that. It was amazing how kids adapted and how they really enjoyed it, and they weren't too tired, which was another concern. So what we've been doing is measuring their skills when they get to first grade. So we've looked at the scores for students on different entry tests and on the Study Island and different programs that they've used. And we've seen that the students in the full day have been very successful and feel more confident going into first grade when they've had full day kindergarten. And they've also been socially prepared. And, you know, you always have some kids who have little issues here and there, but these, by far, they have had fewer incidents, you know, as first graders. And it's hard to tell sometimes the kindergarten from the first grade, because they really are all, by mid-year, you know, looking pretty mature, and they've all adapted to the school program. But they still have time for fun, and you can see that they have the best personalities. You know, I love visiting there. So, you know, if they hadn't increased or they hadn't shown any progress and that it wasn't working well, you know, we would have looked at it again. But I think that it was a wise use of the money, and I think that the parents have been very pleased. All the feedback that we've gotten has been positive. So, I think, fortunately, that was a good program.
Wonderful. All right, Kathy, to your next question.
How do you determine the success of your district, and what key performance indicators do you use to help identify weaknesses and monitor progress?
We use the typical state measurements. So, because you want to make sure your student performance, you want to compare yourself across the state. And we know that Massachusetts is is the top state. So we want to make sure that our students, now the goal is to be one of the top districts. And I think we've measured that, but there's, we do that, we do the, the graduation rate, the dropout rate, but I think more than that, I like to see that students are having fewer incidents in school. So I think discipline issues, I want to see those go down. I want to see that they are not finding coping with school and the stress of school to be very difficult. And, I think that's one of the big challenges I see, is that there's so much stress now on students to perform and to be competitive with their peers, that oftentimes, you can see that they're struggling a little. And, they're facing stresses that maybe we didn't notice when we were younger. And so I think in this competitive society, we have to make sure that we are supporting them emotionally. One of the things that we did in Holbrook was to bring in an outside agency to work with students, because they weren't getting the counseling outside of school, and their parents are working. They're really they're working hard. They can't be doing everything. So we thought that was something we could take on. We had this agency come in, and they would take the health insurance from the family, and these students could get the counseling right in school. And it's private. Nobody ever knows that they're doing that. And it's been very successful, because students need more support than I think schools can give. And so that's just another added piece.
Great. Lynn?
Could you give an example of a time when your particular skill set and interests helped change and improve the overall culture of your current district?
Well, I think that the initial reorganization, when I came into Holbrook, there was an opening for an assistant superintendent, and there was an opening for a SPED director. So that was my first opportunity to make a decision, and I had met some people during my visit, when I was interviewing, and I had met this woman who was an amazing principal, and she just had life, and she had a sense of humor, and everybody knew her in the district. She actually had grown up in Holbrook. So I asked her to be my assistant superintendent. That was, I think that was a change agent for the whole town, because everybody knew her. Her father had been superintendent years ago, I didn't know that at the time, and she just has the life that I want to see extended to students, to faculty, and so I think she embodies, respecting the people who are already there, but also the fact that she could, work with me, that we were compatible, and it shows that now we're a team, and this is the teamwork that's going forward. We also took a person who had been one of the special ed liaisons to make, she had just gotten certified as a supervisor or as a special ed administrator, so she became the special ed director. And I think that was another piece where you have to respect the people that you work with in the district. And me coming in new, I had to make sure that, that I wasn't saying, I'm going to take somebody from outside, somebody I knew before, and, and disrespect what they already had going. So I think that worked well for an entry, and it kind of changed the culture and, let people know that, we're all in this together, and I do value them, and hope that they value me the same way.
Oh, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Did I do that to you again?
That's all right.
It's always you, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I understand. The follow-up, what lights you up and makes you proud of your vocation?
Well, this might seem trivial to some people, but I love going to the schools and being recognized by students and having conversations with them and asking them about, what's going on with them. It doesn't even have to be school-related. And I love the fact that they come to me and they will talk to me. I have kids who visit my office to talk to me and tell me things about, that really have nothing to do with school. I have the ones who come down and try to get something from me too, but then but most of the time it's, it's students who just, feel that there's somebody there who will listen to them and who is interested in what they're doing. And just going and visiting schools is, for me, one of the best pieces of my job. Makes me glad every day.
Lynn, are we good?
We're good.
Mark.
Hi.
Hi.
The Neshoba district has a budget of $54 million, and like most districts, we have pressures of balancing quality education for students with the ensuring that we are efficiently using taxpayer dollars. Tell us what your experience is with creating and managing a budget and collaboration involved, and what, in your view, does transparency look like in the budget process?
Well, your budget, I know, probably doesn't seem exorbitant to you, but to me, you have only 3 times the amount of students, but much more than 3 times the budget. So I'm envious. I've had to scale back things. We've tried to create economies wherever we can. Right now, we're going to deploy, we have 2 curriculum coordinators, one for humanities and one for STEAM. So we're going to take those 2 people next year because our budget has been reduced below level services. So we're going to take those 2 people. We have a principal job opened, but we're going to take one of those people and make them the assistant principal because we're moving into a new school where that's what we're going to need for a structure. So we're going to start that next year so the transition goes well, but it also saves money. And then we're going to move the STEAM person as an assistant principal and curriculum. They're both going to still be doing curriculum, one elementary and one secondary, so that they can, we will have vertical and horizontal alignment of our curriculum. So that person will become the assistant principal that's needed in the secondary wing when we open a new school. So it's creating an economy, but it's, it's also, it's good for the kids and it's good for the schools. It's not something that I think is going to be detrimental. I think it's going to be very helpful, but it also does save money. So those are the types of things that I've had to do because our budget isn't, could be better. And I think, you have to find ways of not taking somebody out from in front of students. That's my most favorite piece of the budget process, is that I won't do that. I'm not going to take a teacher out from in front of students. It has to be something that I can do that's not going to directly affect them. So I think this is, that's the kind of economy that I would like to see anywhere, is, something that's beneficial to the district, financially, but also beneficial to students.
And if I could just follow up, tell me about transparency and making, including many of the community's interest involved in publicizing or working on a budget
We have,
process.
right, we do have a budget document that we give to the community, that we, that's available to anybody. We try to, we have it on, we go on TV and talk about the budget. We have a number of hearings, and we go to the FinCom, and this year we've done a Board of Selectmen budget. So it's very public. We have all the documents available for anybody. Last year, we sent them out to every household. We sent out, it was a two-sided flyer that was, that told them the major points and was, so that they would be interested in seeing the full document. But at least every taxpayer received that at his or her house. And this year, we didn't have the postage budget for that, so we've advertised it, and we've let people know that that's, that our budget is available. We're happy to give it to them. It's on the website, and, and they see it on cable TV. So it's, often people will tune in, they'll know that, what's going on because of that. But we also have, I have superintendent chats where anyone can come in and talk to me, and, they can come in anytime, but I have those scheduled so that people can come in and discuss anything that's on their mind, but especially the budget, because that's a big piece that people are always interested in. And no matter where you are, you think you pay a lot of taxes, and you know that the school is one of the biggest pieces of the funding. So people are interested, as they should be, and people want to know what they're getting for their money. And so we ask them, to give us comments about the budget, but most of the time, people are pretty supportive of, of what we're doing, and, and they know that the budget's tight.
Neil?
Please tell us about your experience in integrating technology into teaching and learning. What challenges did you face with individual stakeholders? And how do you measure whether technology is effective in increasing student achievement?
When I was in Tewksbury, because we had the new school, it was fantastic. So we were able to outfit the place with everything that we needed. We had fantastic networking, the state-of-the-art equipment, and we had labs for things like the film studio, and I know you have a big interest in film here. And so we had that, we had a robotics studio, we had a robotics lab, we had a foreign language, French was my major, so we had a foreign language lab, and we had everything in Tewksbury, but now I've come to Holbrook where they're going to have everything. But right now we're struggling because there are a lot of people who are integrating technology, and we're supporting that, we're trying to make it happen, but we're kind of we're at a loss with the technology at this moment, but we are planning for the new school. We've been visiting other brand-new schools to see what technology other people are using, and it's pretty much what we've been trying to do. We don't have a one-to-one initiative yet, but we will, because that's, as soon as the school opens, we expect that's what we'll have, and we're planning for that right now. We are also going to have the infrastructure that we'll be able to have multiple devices working at the same time. Right now it shuts down our network, which is difficult, but we work around it. So we have, we've put up access points everywhere, but part of the technology, and I went to a workshop today where people, this is going to be a perfect segue to creating your own content, creating your own textbook, because I went to a Cengage workshop today, which was very interesting, and it's all about how you can pull from the resources that are available through databases through the state that we already have free access to, how you can pull those in to this program, and you can do it with other programs anyway, but this one in particular was very efficient and had the structure already there, so that teachers could pull in all of these resources and share them and create assessments and content for their classes where a textbook wouldn't even be needed. And it had podcasts, it was just fantastic. And we do that on a small scale as we're able to. And, but with this technology, we are going to absolutely be able to do better things for all students, because now we have it in pockets. The junior, senior high school has a little more than the middle school. So we need to have it to be equal access for all, and that's why we're visiting every place we can to see if there's anything we haven't experienced yet. But I think, as the curriculum develops, we're going to see that textbooks won't be needed and students won't be carrying those things back and forth, and I think it's going to be a much better atmosphere for students.
Thank you.
Nicole, I think you're next.
Have you had to deal with children and families in distressful situations? Without identifying anyone, can you tell us of situations where the social and emotional needs of children and their families moved you to action? And what were you able to learn from the situation that you've used to positively impact the larger school population?
That led me to creating the alternative classroom in Tewksbury. There was a student whose family was really in rough economic shape. So they didn't even have a turkey at Christmas, and so it was really sad. The student actually had no lunch every day and was too proud to ask for one. So, we saw that he was acting out because he had all of these stressful problems, and he was in danger of dropping out. He was stopping, coming to school because it was too tough for him to get to school and to deal with his home problems, and with the fact that, when he got to school, he was at a disadvantage to other students. So he and a few others who were who were living in poverty were in the same. They had the same issues. For some reason, it was more of, I think, a problem of poverty than it was with lack of interest, or the families were very supportive, but they really couldn't give them what they needed. So we created the alternative classroom, which supported these students, gave them a place to feel comfortable, where they could feel that they were supported, and they had students in there who had similar difficulties and similar situations. And that was really, it's funny, after, a little rough start, that was really what it took for these kids to feel like this was the place they wanted to be. They'd rather be there with people who were, who were colleagues or peers in their situations, and they had people who were, we got some great people to staff that room, and they were just so supportive that they would, they would reach out to the families. They would reach out and try to find them after-school jobs. There were pieces to that program where students knew that they could tell the staff anything and that they would help them with the problems. So some of them had some law enforcement involvement too, and that, so we worked with the police on this, because these students, they had their little falls from grace, but we tried to make sure that they didn't we didn't want them to fall completely off the map, so we wanted to make sure they stayed in school. So that was one of the things that we were very fortunate that the police were on board with it too, and they helped us. And these kids, as I said, graduated, and it was something that I never expected to see, because you never know how effective it's going to be, but these kids felt supported. So I knew that there, if you have students with anything, so we had kids coming back from the hospital from mental health issues, those students also felt comfortable in that room because it was small, supportive, and they were all different, but they felt supported in that room, and they didn't feel that it was going into the larger community right away, so they didn't feel stressed, and that worked very well for them too.
So I just want to do a quick time check. You have lots of time. So
I go slower.
you can do what you want to do. I mean, we've got just a couple more questions in 30 minutes before we, so you can have as much of the extra time as you'd like to ask us questions, but let's keep, I'm sure you do, that's good. All right, so my question is, tell us about a time when various stakeholders in the community were divided on an issue. How did you work with the different groups to resolve the issue? And then how would you work to maintain cohesive community relations?
What comes to mind is the building project in Tewksbury and in Holbrook, actually. I think that in any community, then you have a certain segment of the population who says, I don't have anybody in the schools, and why am I going to pay this extra money in taxes? And I don't blame them. A lot of times you have your elderly population who's struggling to make ends meet, and you need to gain their support, but you also have to let them know what it is they're getting back in return for this money they're spending. So what we did in Tewksbury, and I can't take credit for it because it was the superintendent who was there at the time, but she set up these focus groups. And I went out there and campaigned in each focus group, and we talked to, we went to the senior citizen housing, or their center, and we asked them just to say whatever it was that was on their minds, because we knew the issues. It comes down to money. It's really difficult. So we talked to them, we talked about the project, we showed them what benefits it would have for them, because there would be a place for them to gather, they could hold some of their activities there, the auditorium would be available to them. So there were a lot of pieces, I think, that were, that were attractive to them. And so I think that convinced some. There were some people there who had grandchildren who were growing up in the town. So they were, we talked about what would their, grandson or granddaughter have if we had this brand new high school facility. Because, if they were little, they're saying, well, it's going to be forever. But we talked to them about what that would mean for them, what a 21st century education was going to look like, and what it would do for that child. So people were pretty receptive to it. You still had people who weren't crazy about it. And you can't, that's going to happen. But I think because we did these focus groups, and we went to a lot of places. We went to the library and had a group there. Anybody who wanted to come could come. We had the parents of the elementary students, because a lot of them too wanted to know, is this worth it? And so, they were more easily convinced, of course. But, so we had all the different groups in town. We went to the bus drivers, and, we talked to them and said, well, how will this help you? And we talked about that. So there were a lot of focus groups, and, we did law enforcement. We really talked to everyone and tried to, get all of their objections out so we could see what was bothering people. And in the end, it turned out that we had an amazing vote for it. It was overwhelming in favor of the building project. But in the beginning, I know the principal before me said, you'll never get it. So he said, you're wasting your time, don't do it. And he was a riot, because he had wanted the new building, and it didn't happen while he was there. So I said, I'm going to still do it. What the heck, it doesn't hurt to try. And it was just such an overwhelming support for the new school, and it became a kind of a beacon for the whole community. Everyone felt really good about this project, even the people who had been, a little bit upset by the whole prospect. I think when the new school opened, everyone was there, they wanted to tour it, they thought it was beautiful, and they do use the different rooms there, because there were a couple of large group discussion areas with projectors, and you could use that for any type of meeting that you wanted. So, there were a lot of people who signed up and said, yeah, I want to use that. There was also a walking track, which was very, that was very attractive to a lot of people. And so they could come in there after hours and use the facilities. So, it was a win-win, I think, for everyone.
That's great. Thank you. Mark?
Tell me how the district can handle the many different kinds of learning abilities and learning styles that every typical population of pupils has, and how do you avoid the one-size-fits-all education?
Well, I think it is a challenge, and but I think as we're talking about the technology, that has assisted greatly in helping students. Today I saw a program that would actually read line by line for students, and it would read the content that is of a higher level, but it would read it to the student, and it would pick out certain words, and the student could stop on it, would define it. And it would translate it too. If you had a student, an ELL student who was having difficulty with a word, that student could translate it into his or her own language and go right back to reading the English. So I think technology is going to be a great assist and is a great assistance to students of different abilities, as likewise as it is for typically developing students too. The possibilities are tremendous, and teachers can differentiate much more easily, I think, with having the technology available, so that students can be doing something in this group in the same classroom while another group is doing something different. And I see in elementary schools constantly that students are working on a station that involves technology, and then the rest of the class, there's some students are doing something else, and the teacher is working with individuals over here, so that allows for students to be individualized. And we do that in elementary schools, and I think we forget about that as the kids get older. But it can be done, obviously, because we do it, all students are in the same classroom in elementary school. And then you get more specialized as you go up, because interests become more specialized. But I think you can deliver the same content to varied abilities, because some students, I found this with a student I had who was, people thought he was a malcontent, and so he would be a little pain, but I had him in class, and I found that his niche was actually computer programming. So he didn't present as somebody that you would think was of high ability, but he actually was quite capable. He just was bored, and he really wasn't interested in what we were doing. So those students, finding the piece that makes them successful, or that, where their individual talent is crucial, actually, in engaging them and making them successful in school.
And how do you handle a diversity of teaching styles, economically in a smart way?
Well, diversity in teaching styles is, I think that's one of the things we have to make sure, that there is a diversity in the way teachers approach students. Sometimes people will try to track students more so that they can teach a group in one way. But I think teachers need to differentiate, and I think people enjoy differentiating anyway. But a lot of times people, my age probably would have just done it. You stand in your lecture and kids take notes. Now people are realizing that they have to diversify. And I think that is what our challenge is to make sure that teachers are doing that and making sure that they're sharing that skill with other teachers, because sometimes there are teachers who would love to do something different, but they're really just not, they haven't been exposed to it. And I know when I first started teaching, I didn't even know what other people were doing in their classrooms. And I think that's something that has to stop in schools, and I think pretty much it does, but because people collaborate, they go and visit, they observe their peers, where in the old days they didn't, so you didn't know what other people were doing. And once you find out that look at all the opportunities and all of the strategies that are available out there, once teachers start sharing that and doing professional development together and conducting their own professional development, then students benefit from that. So I think people want to do it. We just have to let them have that training and make sure they have that exposure.
Wonderful, thank you. Kathy?
What are your strategies for fostering a positive relationship with the school committee regarding A, making educational policy for the district, and B, creating a solid administrative and policy-making team that supports the district goals and objectives?
I think that policy obviously is school committee anyway, that's their purview, but I think there needs to be contributions, obviously, from the superintendent and the faculty, because sometimes, with some of the new policies, there are policies that come from, for example, MASC, which we constantly take, and then sometimes we alter them because it has to fit our district. And I think that is a collaborative effort. The administrative team often is called upon to do that kind of, perusing of the documents. And in Holbrook, at least, we try to make that kind of a collaboration, so that we have school committee suggesting, this is something that we need to look at, this is what we have from MASC, let's take a look at it, let's discuss it, and we have a review of it. Sometimes they'll just have me review it with the administrative team, and sometimes the administrative team will talk with the school committee about it. And so it's really kind of a nice, sometimes people are just, saying, well, that's a great policy, let's just accept it. But sometimes, people want something different in there. And I think the school committee has been very good to listen to that. And, and of course that, they have enough experience to know whether or not that will work in the school system. So I think, you can't obviously go too far afield, but you need to adapt it so that it, it feels right for the right district.
And Kathy, this is our last formal question.
Why is it time for you to move on, and where do you want to take our district?
It sounds sad. Sounds like happy trails, no. I think it's time for me to move on because the goals that the school committee asked me to achieve and the ones that I set for myself have been accomplished. The big ones that I came in facing were the school project and student achievement. And those two were, I didn't expect them to be done so quickly. So they are. And I think that they're in a good place right now. And so I feel that, I need a new challenge. And I think that you have one of my favorite things, which is a building project or some renovation or addition. And I enjoy doing that. And you're already high functioning, which is amazing. But there are always those achievement gaps that need to be, for the subgroups, that need to be closed. And that's something I enjoy investigating and then finding, some types of strategies to deal with that. I like to form collaborative groups. So, I'd like to see what people, what is it that they think works well and what works in other, if you have a group that's doing well in one school but not doing well in another school, well, those people should be able to collaborate and share strategies because, somebody's been successful at it. And so that might be something, they might be successful at different things so they can share those pieces. I also would like to see, the types of professional development. I see so many exciting things happening in our district. I saw the EMT course where students go out into the community and actually help with medical care. I think that's just amazing. And I watched some of the videos that the kids have created. There are so many exciting things happening here. That's something that I would love to be a part of. And I do think that, these kids are starting from such a young age and being, they're getting out there, being creative, being successful. But, there are always other things that can help students, and I'd love to be a part of that. I know you've started the one-to-one initiative with the 8th grade, and, I'd like to see that take off and go to other grades because obviously that is the way of the future. So I think all of those pieces, it's an exciting time here. So I would love to be a part of that and to see that move forward. And this is, one of the, I saw in one of the, I think it was an article in the Chieftain that said that the high school is one of the 50 top high schools in the state. So I think that is something, it's going to be, maybe the top 10 would be better.
Yeah.
Or the top one.
We think so too.
So, those are the types of challenges. You already have a fantastic program. So how can it be, improved and how can students be even more successful than they already are? Because it's all about students and, where their college and career choices are going to be and what their life is going to turn out to be from what they get here.
Excellent. So that concludes our formal questions, and we've got almost 28 minutes, so please, if you have questions for us, we would love to answer them.
All right. Thank you, if you don't mind. I just have a few, but maybe I'll start with the last one. What's the most difficult initiative that you think you have to address as a school committee?
If I start with Neil, he's going to say technology.
I would not.
So I'll start with Neil and let him say what he wants.
The one-to-one initiative. which is not technology per se, right? I mean, but yeah, I mean, right now I know you just said about homework, but I believe statistically we're sort of behind the curve on the one-to-one rollout right now in technology, looking at a statewide comparison. I would love to see our district eventually get to a 3 to 12, especially since we're looking at MCAS 2.0, and they're saying right now in order for, which is going to be a park-style test,
Right.
and they're saying that students need to have keyboarding skills because they're computers, and they're saying that third grade is where you need to be teaching these kids keyboarding skills, so they're completely familiar with these when they go to take the test.
So they
Trying
need
to
to
figure out
really
where
be
the
second
letters
grade.
are, they can't take, they cannot take the test
Right.
unless they're trained. And so it makes sense to me to see that, and then that's a process that just keeps going. So I think that's the biggest challenge that we have, because you've got the financial component, you've got, it's change, so you have the nature of humans, right? No one likes change, so you have to bring that change carefully and comfortably in. And it's for the kids too, it's change for them. So they have to learn how to use technology in different ways. So that's what I see as the biggest.
And do you think that the one-to-one has worked well this year?
From what I'm hearing and being on the technology committee, right? I mean, I think the one-to-one has been a really big hit, but it's a learning process. There's a ton of measurements and so forth that are, I mean, it's a learning process. This is a new thing. And I think that we desperately need leadership to be a little more focused on goal setting, and being able to give the people involved in the technology a little bit of specific direction on how to get there.
I could jump in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that one of the areas that isn't fully developed is in the area of assessing initiatives such as Neil was talking about. It just seems to me too open-ended, and there has to be some sort of a metric that we look at. Where was the baseline? I don't know that we have a baseline. There are a lot of questions that I've had about, okay, this was our first year, all the 8th graders have them, now what? What happens over the summer? What's the maintenance? What has gone on? Has there been, I've heard stories about kid-type vandalism, they move the keys around and write dirty words and put things inside of it, but that's,
Kids are amazing.
you don't give them to middle school kids, but anyway, how much of that is going on? How has it been addressed throughout the year? Where's the accountability with the child, with the family? Things of that nature are ill-defined. So the kids have the device, the teachers have been doing a tremendous amount of work. But what are we measuring, and what are we going to see? And one of the things that has happened, I think, in the district is we collect a lot of information, we survey, and then it sits there.
So what professional development did teachers receive before they were given, the 8th grade teachers, before this was rolled out?
I believe she had something over the summer. She had a program over the summer,
Well, that's-
because they came late, so towards the end of the summer, she had,
Because that's hard to just, here it is, and
she was ready, they had kind of prepped her for it, and it was strictly voluntary, I believe.
There have been challenges, significant challenges on that end, I think, for the teachers that I've spoken with being, they did, as a matter of fact, today, an ed camp model, so it was a mini ed camp for technology, and it was fantastic. A couple of us were able to, got invited and were able to attend it. As a matter of fact, but they offered a whole variety of different types of programs, and the teachers, it was elective, right? Elective, not mandatory. And I think they had 90 people turn out for this. So, I mean, there's a lot of people want to learn this, and I think they're sort of starved for some information in certain ways. My daughter, just briefly, and I'm sorry, my daughter and I think your son are in the one-to-one initiative right now. They're both in the 8th grade. And so I'm seeing from a parental perspective also, The fact that where it is working, my daughter comes home every day, and FaceTime has become a tool of the classroom. And so there are actually multiple kids from the class all teaching each other.
Wow.
And they're all, I didn't get this, can you explain that a little bit better to me? And I mean, they're going back and forth, and I'm watching this happen, like, this is that collaborative, like, magic that everyone's talking about, and it's happening organically, which, but
That's great.
but to be able to put, like, define that, and that's trickled down to my younger daughter, who now FaceTimes, and, you know, she's got a Chromebook, so these kids are now doing this stuff, even though they're not
What
in
grade
the
is she
one-to-one
in?
initiative. She's in the 6th grade. So, but the thing is, it's happening organically with the kids, and I think we need to recognize that as the school system and understand that the collaboration is going to start happening if we can start putting this in place, and it's going to result in change.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
No, but that's a really good point. It's gonna happen, so get on the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are they using, I know I'm going to stay on this one, but what are they using the computers for? So, for example, what does your daughter come?
Everything.
Yeah, so they
Everything.
are,
I
do they
mean-
have textbooks? Oh, no, they have Chromebooks, do they?
Well, they do have some textbooks.
So they're not completely, it's not a digital classroom.
Okay.
It's the one-to-one initiative right now. That's what I would love to see, and they're talking about, right.
Oh, nice.
Very heavy.
But there's talk now about digital textbooks coming out, and some of them free, you know, and taking a look at, so, I mean, there's a lot of exciting things, but we're in the infancy, and there's so much growth that needs to happen here still.
Yeah. But that's great that the faculty is offering courses to other faculty members? Is that
Yes,
it? Yes,
yeah,
because that's, we have that too, and we have
self-taught
people, the ones who are technology savvy will show what they do in a science classroom with technology or whatever. So, I mean, that's great that they're sharing it. I think it's not so, people aren't so concerned when it's one of their colleagues. They'll listen and they won't feel intimidated, so that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Side of the table, you have a challenge you want to share?
I think one of our immediate challenges is figuring out how we're going to handle our high school's space needs and what approach and what agreement's going to come about to get there.
You put some portable classrooms in, is that?
We
what
did.
Yeah, okay.
That were generously donated by the town of Stowe.
Really?
They had them.
Thank you.
They had them,
Nice, though,
and
yeah.
they didn't need them anymore because they built a new school, and they gave them to us, and all we had to do was pay for the
Installation.
moving it, installing it.
Nice family atmosphere. That is nice, but that's perfect. So is that,
So in other
that's
words-
not even accommodating your needs though, because I read that was not, you still need 9 classrooms and 1 science lab in addition to those. That's,
So we've identified a need, but how we're going to fulfill the need, we haven't even begun to consider. And I think that's our next significant thing, and then to bring that identification out to our communities.
Which is going to be a big effort.
yeah. But your statement of interest was filed?
No, we've
Oh,
elected to hold off for a year because we want to go out to our communities and
okay,
get
yeah.
some support and mutual understanding.
Well, that's good. Is there a lot of interest in?
Well, we've had for 3 years, it's 3 years, right, that we've had the Space Study Task Force in place?
2.5.
2.5, because you and I were on it at the beginning. We've had a lot of information, a lot of data. We live in 3 towns of people who are data junkies, and they love their information and they love their data. And so we've got a lot of information, and I think at this point, we're trying to figure out where do we go next, and in order for us to get to that next level, we can't do it without broadening the discussion. We shouldn't do it without broadening the
Right.
discussion.
Yeah, people will be much more engaged.
Well, they're going to own it,
Yeah.
right? Whatever we decide to do, whether we decide to do nothing, decide to do something, decide to go in the middle, they're going to own it, so.
Yeah, that's right. And how would you accommodate it if you're not getting those classrooms now? Or I read something that said you were in hallways. Is that true? But it's funny how people do adjust. So it's pretty
We got new
Say
lights in
something.
the hallway, so it's nice and clean there.
So it can actually
So it's not
stay.
dangerous, yeah. There you go. So
I
that's,
think that is exactly the question that we need to consider. We haven't figured out
no,
how, each, whatever choices they are, how we will accommodate it.
right. Thank you. I noticed that you have a letter from NEAS that included mention of the space requirements. So do you think NEAS will help you with that? The fact that NEAS has kind of...
Helped us with a few things.
Yes, okay.
Cole, do you want to take that one? No, he does not want to touch that. Kathy?
NES did identify it. I don't know, I'm not on the task force for the space needs, so I don't know if the NEASC part will resonate. I don't know if everybody in the communities knows what NEASC is. I didn't know what NEASC was until I was on school committee. So even, I think, part of the next step is to not just articulate what the needs are from the high school that the task force did, but why and what other organizations are also out there that we want to be in alignment with. Like, what is NEASC? What is, what do they say and why do we want to listen? So just even that is important.
That's a good point.
Because I found that people didn't know in both communities. In Tewksbury, they put us on warning because of, they were a lot stricter in those days, and they've become a little bit, more cognizant of the label warning. But we were on warning because of our school building, and they would not take us off warning until the doors opened and students were in the chairs, because our building was almost done when I was writing those special progress reports, and they still wouldn't change it, which I thought was good, actually, because that was one of our bargaining points with the community. Do you want an accredited high school? And the same thing in Holbrook. They are actually on probation, so that is and the building is another big issue. So now that will be cause for lifting that. But I think that was one of the strong points that we had to go forward with the project. So I think that will hopefully, it's kind of, you feel bad that they put it on there, but I think...
No, I don't think anyone feels, I think everyone is very
Happy with
open
that,
with
yeah.
it. I think that the teachers did the most amazing job
For the
with
visit.
their self-assessment and the visit. Just 100% honest and 100% we want to be the best we can be. So, I think everyone's very comfortable with what they said. I don't think anyone's surprised. I think it's just a matter of just what these guys said. It's communication with the community and having the community know what NEASC is and why it's important and the other things that go, like why is it important to have these 9 classrooms, not just,
Right. Well, if they saw people in the corridors, I guess they would think that was a good idea.
the worst, yeah.
Well,
It's- yeah.
Specialized spaces too, right? So we have an older high school that a general classroom doesn't necessarily solve the problem for. We have students who have social emotional requirements, and we have nowhere for them to be able to go to just decompress and just do what they need to do to get it together or to take the time that they need. And we're not going to see less of that. So
Moving teachers, I think that was a great thing that the task force did and really articulated well what the effect of a teacher on a cart does to a classroom. It's a real learning effect, and I think they articulated that extremely well.
Yes, I read the part about, the 2 minutes going on either end. It makes a big difference when you have a 46-minute period.
Absolutely.
That the time on learning is really taken away from. So it's good that everybody realizes that too. It's nice that your community is going to be informed, because just reading your website obviously gives you all of that information, but I think too going out to the community and, as you said, talking about what NEASC is, because if you have elementary students, usually you don't hear about NEASC until later on. But
And if you're in the middle of the 10-year cycle, you might never hear.
exactly.
You never even will hear the word. So
That's right. Until, yeah. But you write those special progress reports over and over again. I'm telling you, I wrote millions of them. It was all for a good cause. I know that you have these after-school activities for students. You have an extended day, and you're having like vacation week enrichment. It's wonderful programs, it sounds like. How do you go about finding out what students would be interested in doing?
So we do have wonderful programs. We have a wonderful director of our enrichment and extended learning, and it's in all the schools. And it's really part of the fabric of the school's enrichment. From one of my experiences, I worked with the elementary, and they did, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen because I'm not in education. They started with surveys to the kids, and the surveys were all pictures. So a first grader can't read, do you want to play outside or do you want to do Legos? It was literally a picture of playing volleyball or a picture of Legos. So they started with the kids, and they started with picture surveys, and then we had to, to pull that data, and then they went to the parents, and then they needed, at different schools, there's different things that offer. We have a lot of ones run by parents that are free, so you can join and do things like that, or some run by faculty, and then there's some extended day staff, and there's a big contingent of high school volunteers and workers that help in all of them. So it kind of connects the whole community, and they go from school to school. I just think the world is the program.
Yes, and I saw you had the middle school kids now can volunteer.
That's a lot of volunteering.
How wonderful, because they're at that age where you don't really want to let them out. If you're a parent, you don't want them out there alone. So it's a great place to keep kids safe and to have them perform that. I saw you can use it for your community service too. What a great thing.
And they get good babysitting jobs through it. They do.
All right, what else we have here? Oh, so the other one's a technology thing that you really have answered anyway. So I think that's all of mine.
Is there any question that you have for us about any initiative that you saw that either looked like you weren't quite sure where we were coming from with it, or if there was a program that maybe didn't look like it had the structure behind it to support where we thought we might be going? I'm not leading you here. I'm just
I
trying
was
to...
amazed at the diversity, and you have such a variety. I looked through the program of studies at the high school, and that was incredible. Just having, I think you had 4 languages. It was just an amazing.
We have 4 languages and we want more.
Well, that's wonderful. Yes, but I'm into languages. But so that, I think that is something that entices people. I saw that you're not doing school choice now, so I imagine people are flocking here because of the opportunities that you have.
Yeah.
But with the space issues, you couldn't do that. But still, this, and just some of the offerings that were in science and the integrated ones. So you had a humanities class with a science class, or, that to me is the kind of exciting things that kids would want to see. Who wants to go to your basic class when you can go to something that, combines 2 subjects and makes it a lot more exciting. So, and your graduation requirements look like it was pretty hefty, so it looks like you're in the right direction. I didn't see anything that was, that didn't look well-founded, but just the opportunities for students that, just seeing those kids perform at the, I think it was a middle school video that I was watching. I saw one from the high school, but the video for the middle school was impressive because these kids are young, and they have the poise and the confidence to get on there and do the morning announcements for the kids. I think that's just incredible, and that's a great way to start kids, so that they feel very comfortable in the future. But no, I didn't. What programs would be weird? No. I thought they were all amazing.
The programs that you mentioned, the combined classes at the high school, that really is grown from the teachers and the principals supporting the teachers. So I think it kind of is indicative of the type of teachers that we have here. They really do want to try, and they see a need or they see an opportunity. And when you were asking about challenges, like that to me is the biggest challenge, is enabling more of that risk-taking. Like, don't be afraid, we'll support Dr. Bates and his staff, and take the risk, calculated risk. You've thought it through, you've kind of come up with your plan. Tell us what the plan is. You want to take a chance? Take the chance.
Wow.
See where you can go with it.
There's a lot of talent behind that too, because it takes interesting individuals who can do 2 subjects or who can collaborate with somebody else.
That's
Because
what
a
it
lot-
is.
Yes, and it's tough sometimes. You see people, their styles are so different, but obviously it works very well here.
Yeah, we're lucky. So we have about 7 minutes. If you don't have any more questions, or if you'd like to make some final comments, or you let us know how you'd like to use it.
I have another page. I didn't do this to match my outfit. I ran out of black ink, so I just wanted you to know that. Anyway, so I want to thank you again for inviting me back and for letting me help you make this decision that for your leadership position that is going to affect the community for the future. I hope that you, through our discussions, that you see that I have the skill set and the ability to form partnerships that will help you with your goals. I've demonstrated skill in addressing some of our common challenges. So improving student achievement is always something, even though you really have fantastic student achievement here, there's always more to do, and there's always those subgroups that need some concentration. My teams that I've worked with in the past, their accomplishments are improving student performance, particularly in the high needs subgroup. Establishing programs where needed, for example, the alternative class, collaborating and promoting successful building projects, I love that, and enhancing the school climate for students, because that's one of the things that I feel is often overlooked and should be a major emphasis for kids so that they can be successful. I've successfully tackled NEASC identified issues and integrated technology into classrooms. Even though it was more so in Tewksbury, but I'm doing that now, and I think we're pretty successful in getting people excited about what we're going to have, and creating partnerships in the community. So in Tewksbury, for example, we were fortunate to have Raytheon right in our backyard, so they partnered with us. We went out and we solicited, different companies to help and to be a part of our exciting establishment, and they often would mentor kids too. So I think that, in creating these partnerships, it only helps to promote better student outcomes and to offer opportunities that students wouldn't have otherwise. So thank you again, and I hope I'll see you.
Thank you so very much for coming. We appreciate it.
And I assumed it would be a very enjoyable time, so if I may leave this, I can get a chair.
Thank you.
So I wrote this ahead of time. I was going to hold it back if it wasn't a good time.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Pleasure seeing you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And you're driving back to Arlington?
I am.
There's no traffic.
Actually, it wasn't really that bad when I drove home the other night. It didn't even take me, it probably took me 35 minutes, so.
Oh,
I
that's
took
not
your
bad.
questions, I'm sorry. Trying to steal them all the time.
I think you did that last time.
I did, I started to take it, the papers that are lying around. Thanks again.
Thanks again. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks. We are going to take a quick, how much do you want? 10 minutes?
I need 10 minutes. I need 10 minutes.
You need 10 minutes. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. We're going to take a 10-minute recess. Thank you so much. Okay, so, I am so impressed with the screening committee's candidates that they put forward. So, Neil and Nicole, you were 2 of the 12. Thank you so much. So now we're going to move into deliberation. And Dorothy's going to help us out here, but one of the things that Dorothy has said to me probably 12 times in the past 12 hours is the decision that we have to make right now is not who do we want to extend the offer of superintendent to, it's who do we want to invite to come tour our schools and whose school do we want to go look at so we can dig in a little bit more. And it's the people that we'd like to know a little bit more about. We're interested, we want to know more. So that's really what the decision is. The decision is not who are we extending the superintendent offer to, all right? Do you want to jump in? Yep.
That would be 1 to 4 of them?
That would be 1 to 4 of them.
Yes, that would be 1 to 4 of them. And I just, first of all, I was thinking, because you were so conscious of the time, that I would give you 59 minutes to make this decision. You told me to stay on. But anyway, so yes, it's very important to remember that tonight you're not making a decision on who the superintendent is. You're making a decision on who would you like to learn more about to move forward with. And that can be 4 people, could be 1 person. I would actually suggest, I get the impression from some of the discussions that some of you are thinking, well, 2. But if one of those 2 gets another offer someplace, then you're left with 1. So you might want to think about, that in terms of not trying to be too sharp in where you cut that off. Yes, Kathy?
In putting people forward, should they be people that we could envision as the superintendent? So that if I don't think somebody is a strong candidate to, like, if we put forward 4 and 3 fell away and that one was left,
Then you don't have to take that person. If 4 fell away, if you pick 4 and 3 fall away, and you decide that that 4th person is not a good match, there's no obligation for you to say, okay, that's the last person standing, so they've got the job. Does that make sense?
yes.
Yep.
So the other thing a couple things to remind you as you have this discussion is the same thing, the screening committee heard this too, you're not matching candidate to candidate. You're not comparing candidate to candidate. You're comparing candidate to the qualifications for the job that you defined. So kind of keep that in mind in your discussion. These people put themselves out there. They put their names out publicly. They've come, they've talked to you. So just be aware that you're having a public discussion and comments that you make have a life. So when you're talking about the candidates, just be aware that comments that you make could follow them. And remember also, I think when you're thinking about it, you all have different sort of things that are important to you about the district or about the qualifications or something. But remember, it's the whole job. So don't let yourself get hyper-focused on one aspect of the job. Remember the whole job, and that this person is not doing every job in the district. This person has to have the knowledge and the ability to oversee that the jobs get done in the district. Obviously, some responsibilities like budget, are perhaps more than, classroom teaching, but, you have to think about the whole picture when you're looking at the qualifications. So the process from here, after you've decided, is it who you want to put forward for further consideration, there are a couple of important pieces left in the process. One is a visit to the candidate's district, and one is the candidate visiting your district. So you'll get the opportunity to talk to people that work with this candidate, to talk to people who interact with them in different ways, parents, teachers, administrators, their boss, if they're not the sitting superintendent. So you'll have that opportunity to sort of check references and check out who they are, how they interact. And then they'll come here, and the people in Neshoba Regional will have the opportunity community members have an opportunity for a meet and greet, a chance to tour the schools, talk to the various administrators and principals in the district, and you to be able to some extent, watch that interaction, to get some feedback on that interaction. So there's more pieces of the puzzle than just how did they interview and did you like their answers in the interview. So as you're thinking through that process too, not only what did you learn about them, but there's more to learn about them all. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about different aspects of what you saw. So, and before I turn it back to Lorraine to sort of have the discussion, do you have any questions for me?
I do. So do you want to talk a little bit about, well, I guess the first question is, other than the decision on who we move forward, are there any decisions that we need to make on the structure of the tours? Because we aren't going to be together until the 27th.
Okay, so a couple things you could think about. In the original timeline, we had talked about, you changed the timeline, so a little bit. And I had been thinking that because you're interviewing tonight, you'd sort of have to wait till after April vacation to
Right.
do any of the other parts. The part that you could move forward to next week, if candidates were available, and I'm sure they would do anything they could to make themselves available, is for them to come here for a day. The thing that takes longer to put together is for the school committee or people on the school committee to go visit their district, because they're going to have to find the people that you want to talk to. So the two pieces that you'll need to decide tonight are, do you want to try and get people here next week if they can make it? And when you go to visit their district, who do you want to talk to there? Because I will talk to them and say the school committee would like to visit, and I can tell you the typical, you would want to talk with their superintendent if they're not the superintendent. You would want to talk to some school committee members there. You would want to talk to administrators there. You would want to talk to some teachers. You would want to talk to some parents. Those are the, I think I've hit them all. You might want to talk to municipal officials that they interact with.
What about the Teachers Association?
Well, that would be the, I mean,
Would you include?
if you
Sometimes
in
it's
saying
distinct
teachers,
from-
yeah,
yeah.
sometimes you say teachers, sometimes you say you would like to talk to the union president
Sure.
or people that are on the e-board of the Teachers Association. So you would want to let them know who you want to talk to when you go there for them to set up that day.
So if we can make the decision on who we'd like to move forward, and we can try to get them here next week, do you guys want to get that moving?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're up against the election, so,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So then with respect to that, do you want to talk through what those days look like? Do we need to make some of those decisions now as well?
Well, it's usually a pretty typical format. You know, all the people that you talk to in their district, you kind of want to turn that around and have it happen here. Some of the, typically they would come and start the day in the central office, talking to people in the central office, spending some time with Dr. Bates, and then moved and have an opportunity, hopefully, to go to each of the different schools.
And how do they get to those schools?
They would need to be hosted. Someone would need to do that. Sometimes it's school committee members. I can do this morning, I can do this afternoon, you know, you can figure it out. Sometimes you have help from someone in the central office who might help you out in the hosting. She really wants to meet with them.
We absolutely, Alita, you will meet with them. And in fact, I think it would be invaluable to have Alita meet with them. And also, I don't know how you folks feel about this, but we've hired a consultant. I think it might be useful for us to ask that gentleman, who now has good feel for who we are, and is a consultant, to also take these folks on the tours. And I don't know how you feel about that. And he's in the room, so pretend he's not. Say it again.
Yeah.
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 So if we could have Dr. Bates, would you be interested in, by the way, do you mind us committing you to helping us with tours? Not at all. He'd be happy to, and Alita too.
And then
Okay.
how do we get the feedback from those visits?
Very often you just have a simple form available
That
for
people
people
fill
to
out
fill
there.
out
Okay.
and return.
Now, the only thing is, we did let the community know that in the notice that we weren't going to be hosting people until the week of the 25th. So that's going to be a big change. How do you think people are going to respond to that? Because part of that day would be an exchange session with the community.
I think it's next week, so I think it's today, Thursday. If we make a decision tonight and can do something next week, I think you just get it out there, and like with anything, people can come, they can come.
Okay. You guys feel all right
That's how
with
I feel.
I'm okay with that.
that? You sure?
It's, you know, but
It is what it is.
Exactly, and you get it out as much as
Okay.
possible.
Okay.
It'll be in the paper Wednesday if
Yeah.
you decide tonight.
But they could come on Monday or Tuesday.
We're gonna have to call every single home.
We can blast it up.
You will? Oh, wonderful, thank you.
We can do a school messenger out. and
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. Just want to make sure people know. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and part of the candidate's visit here is always some sort of community meet and greet, so that there's an opportunity for anyone in the community who wants to come and meet them and have a chance to chat. You know, sometimes it's, we have just sort of a chance for a little bit of one-on-one, and then maybe they sit down and answer questions to the group that's assembled.
Yeah, so if they're going to be meeting with central office people, we would have them meet with our school administration as well.
Well, if they went to each building, they would meet with the school administration in the administrative building.
Dr. Bates, thoughts?
I didn't hear that.
So, Doris,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've already had inquiries from building principals of when are we going to meet, when are we going to have a chance to meet and so forth.
Yeah.
Logistically, can we get them to all schools?
Yes.
Okay. It's just, there's some travel time, I just wanted to know if that seems fine.
So the principals would be okay with meeting them individually?
I think the goal would be, I would like to see the whole leadership team together, if that's possible, which I can pull together.
You put the day together the way you want to put the day together.
I think that would be beneficial, that they see and get to ask questions just like you
As a
did,
team.
As a team.
Okay. Sounds good? Everybody? All right. So, your recommendation is open up the floor?
I would open up the floor and just have kind of a general discussion first, and then, you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to, at some point in...
Are you seriously going to hold me to 59 minutes?
It's a goal.
It's a goal. I like goals.
You'll have to, you'll have to make a vote on each candidate, whether they go forward or not.
All right, let's see how far we can get. Okay, so generally, you don't have to talk about individual candidates. You can talk about all of them, but we just don't want to compare one to the other. Okay? So I'm going to ask Mark Jones to start.
All right.
You can sit wherever you want. I'd love for you to sit wherever you want.
To not compare, but to also talk about.
Well, what do you think is a good fit? What did you want to hear? What did you hear?
I found most appealing Brooke Clutchley and Jahmal Mosley. I think both for their interest and enthusiasm, as well as a perspective that I would call, for lack of a better word, vision, that I really felt that I saw in their perspective, and they're looking for where they might fit.
What did you like about them? What felt like it fit?
Well, for Jahmal, just for him, is being confident about where he stands in his own life and looking for a place to bring that life to. I'm not being terribly concerned about making himself fit, but rather saying, this is where I stand. If you like me, great. And if you don't, that's fine too. So that kind of confidence, I think, is a measure of the kind of confidence that I would like to see in the superintendent job, where he's willing to say where he stands, and whether that's good or bad, he'll find out. That kind of perspective. And I felt a similar sentiment with Brooke, that having dealt with difficult situations like the fixed budget for, 6 or 8 years, I forget how long.
Yeah.
And yet getting her own team aligned enough to cope with that, which I find pretty amazing. That's even possible to get that done. So I feel like her ability to collaborate with her group of people speaks to me about
getting our organization to be a collaborative organization as well.
That's good. I'm going to jump around, Paz.
I liked something about everybody. It's this whole process is a little one-sided, and so I'd like to know more about everybody because they all had some really good qualities. Not all the same, but they all had really good qualities. So I need more information.
What did you like about them? You don't feel like you're being put on the spot, but you're being put on the spot for some specifics.
Specifics.
Vision, fit, experience.
The screening committee did a really good job.
Yeah.
They all have strong qualities. Interviews are really kind of iffy, because, and some people are really good at it, and some people can they can read the room and they can feed it. And I would love more information.
Okay.
Because they all really sounded good.
Okay.
In different areas.
Kathy.
I thought Bridget was a standout as well. I agree with Mark, but I thought Bridget was a standout. I really liked her energy, and I felt like her answers were very pointed. I felt like every time she answered something, it was a real life example, and took us right in there with her and told us very detailed on what her plan of attack was, what she could have done different, and I just felt like, just like kind of she said, it's in her blood, and I feel like she gave that energy off. One of the things I really liked about Jahmal was and I said it to him, not proving improving. And he said it so many times. He kept saying that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to talk about our mistakes, it's okay to be honest, it's okay to confront, and this is your job and this is my job, and we're going to help each other do our jobs better. And I liked how he brought up PLCs, and he brought up a lot of things, again, detailed answers.
So you liked more so. And Jahmal. Dr. Mosley.
I think all the candidates are strong. Like Lynn said, sometimes people are better at answering a specific question, and being a data junkie, like you said earlier, but I liked Bridget's, the feeling I got.
Okay. Neil.
Well, I have to be myself and say that if you put yourself there and have 12 people go at you and then come back and have a lot of us go at them, it's a very tough thing for all the candidates and what they had to go through. And that's not a typical interview process for sure for most jobs. So I really respect everybody that's come up and done that. I think that they are strong candidates. I feel that there are, in my mind, a couple that are stronger as far as what we as a district maybe need and want. And one of them is Bridget Morso. And like Kathy said, I thought in my notations that she answered the questions more specific. There were a couple that, could have been answered a little better, but I think the specific details with specific examples of what has been done, that's important to me because I think we have 4 really good personalities and we have 4 people that could really reach across the table and bring people together, I think. But it's really who's kind of done the job, and I agree, there is sort of that there's also this intangible, this feeling that you have to get. I get that with Bridget, and I felt, actually Dr. Lally today, when she was here, I kind of, felt that she's dealt with some things.
Surprise you?
No, I mean, it was a
type of
positive thing.
experience?
My only concern, I'm torn there, and she would be my second favorite, but I just don't know how compatible the district she is in now is to Neshoba. They're dealing with completely different challenges, and so that creates a little bit of a question mark, a gap. But I think you put it out several times to the candidates and said that they were looking for someone who, we're looking for a superintendent who's going to tell teachers, take a chance, go out, move it forward, succeed. And those are the two candidates that I think are able to do that, and they've got sort of like that proven experience to back themselves up, I think, and that's
good. That's good input. Kathy?
I am in awe of the work that the screening committee did, and I think that the 4 candidates that were sent to us are exceptional in each in their own way. I will express a reservation about moving forward with someone who has not been a superintendent. I think that you may be close to the superintendent, you may be an assistant, but you haven't done the job. And I think that this district needs somebody with a proven track record. As a superintendent, the learning curve is steep. Rhode Island is very different from Massachusetts in many ways, and I just think that I didn't see anything that would indicate to me that they could compensate for not having that superintendent experience. I thought that Patricia, Lally, and Brooke Clenchy, in addition to having experience as superintendent, to me, really got at the heart of why you go into this. You do it for the kids. And the things that they said, and the specifics they had about kids and what they did and partnering with the community. And Brooke said something that I think she was the only one that touched on. I mean, things have been going good here. It's been a rough year, you know?
Been a busy year.
And Brooke said, she said something to the effect that when something has happened that has divided the community, because that was a question that we asked, she said there has to be some healing. And I got the sense from Patricia Lally that she had been in those situations as well. Both of them spoke about how you, really specific, about how you address the kids that fall into the achievement gap. And in districts like this, you know, we're a high-achieving district, but those kids are still here and they haven't moved. That group has not moved. We need somebody with the skill, the knowledge to move that, because that is what makes us excellent. If we can do that, and we haven't. I think, my opinion is that we need somebody who knows the job, who won't have a learning curve, because this is a great district. We have great teachers, we're high achievers, but there's so many other things that need to be addressed, and I think the experience that Patricia and Brooke bring would let them hit the ground running, and that's why I would want to move them forward.
Okay, thank you. Nicole?
Like Lynn, I did like something about each of the each of the candidates. And I think there's something about each of the candidates that spoke to a need that, one of our needs. Like Neil and Kathy, Bridget, I think, in addition to her interview, her resume itself shows a real breadth and speaking to a particular need that we all bring up about how that we are a good district, but there are things that need to be addressed. And her example of when she became a principal in a school that was a great school that got great marks and everyone thought that they had reached the pinnacle. She took it to, what was it, the Regents Commended Schools, that she did that for that school. And like you guys said, it was an example that she set forth there in different ways too. I like her longevity at her current district. I think she's very thoughtful in where she wants to go. I think she's researched us, and I have to trust her right now in that we probably do have a match with her to move forward. I think I have to trust her that she's looked at us and says, I can fit there. And looking at her very impressive resume and what she has done, I would like to move her forward and see, see her district and have her meet with our community. And then Jahmal, I think, would also fit very well with our community. Both of them have energy and vision. They talked about the teachers a great deal, have a lot of teaching and learning that they supported, and like Jamal's foreign language example, programs that they've thought through, that they've seen through, that they've now seen the results of. And so those would be the, if I had to go with two that we could only move forward, those would be the two. There was a great deal about Brooke Clenchy, though, that is also really awesome. I think, for lack of a better word, we could really exploit her relationship with the government, and that would be kind of awesome.
That was a scary but good word. Okay.
Just that she knows certain things, and she could keep us, abreast of everything, and we could be current on all of our policies and make sure that we are, compliant.
We could be compliant with our, what are they? What's the thing we've fallen behind on?
Everything.
Everything, that's not right. That's not true, that's not true.
DDMs, 504s, the hits just keep on coming.
So to that end, I think that Ms. Clenchy is very attractive to me. I'm going to disagree with you, though. Okay? We always do this. We always do the yin and yang. I don't think an outstanding principal makes an outstanding superintendent. And
that is not what I said.
I know that's not what you said, but I think that the next superintendent has a heavy load. They are walking into a situation where they've got to look at a new building project. They're walking into a situation where they've got to repair some relationships within the four walls of the district. They have to repair some relationships outside, and I'm not talking about a small group of vocal people. I'm talking about a large group of people in the community who are just kind of what is going on. We have to make sure that our curriculum is on par. Thank God now the teaching and learning staff is tied to the schools. We've got technology initiatives that have to be supported by a technological structure that we likely don't have. We have huge initiatives here over the next 2 to 3 years, in addition to managing the ongoing day-to-day activities of the district. I don't necessarily think that means you have had to have been a superintendent, because I think a strong assistant who's ready to go and has already done a lot of that work would work. But I think that the initiatives are so large that I would want to see a little more than, I think too, whether you think you're a fit is good, but it's whether we think you're a fit, and I didn't see that. I did see that in Dr. Lally. She has taken on 2 building projects. We've got to do something. We know it's coming. She has built an alt ed classroom, and if you've done any listening to the task force or the high school, Dr. Graham, it is our biggest issue. Lynn, we met with him this summer. They've tried. We are not equipped to build an alt ed program here. We just don't have the experience. And it's not something that the need is going to diminish. It's only growing, and we're seeing it. So I'm not seeing. I think if I will give you this too. If we were in a place 3 to 5 years from where we are now, with the way we need to refocus, re-energize, and move the district forward, and we were looking for someone to take us to that next innovation thing without having to deal with these massive initiatives, then I would absolutely be on board with Ms. Morso. But right now, I just didn't see it.
How is her resume? You like Dr. Mosley?
I did like Dr. Mosley because I liked some of the things that he said. I think it was it you that said, no, was it you that said, he kind of said who he was? And who he is who he is. I did like him. I liked that he'd worked with the MSBA. I really liked Clenchy. I think so one of the things that I'm looking for, and just in my opinion, is I am looking for a risk taker, because I think that someone's going to have a strong moral compass and fiber in order to move forward and make some of the very difficult decisions we have to make. We have some very strong personalities. And okay, now I'm not talking about the school committee. I am talking about within the district that this person is going to have to manage and work with.
I understand that. I do see what you're saying. I'm going to go to the mat on this, though. If you look at her resume, it has that thing. She might have had a bad night here. She had a bomb threat 2 days before. She was probably exhausted.
We're not picking somebody here.
No,
we're just going next steps, right?
Right. Right.
Just check.
Right, so you don't have to go to Matt
Okay.
yet. Wait till after the,
Say it.
yeah.
Well, and I'm not going to, yes, and I'm not ready to go to the mat for her on being our superintendent. But I do think she is incredibly worthy of a next step.
They all are.
They all are. But I would counter what you're saying because, again, I think she, Ms. Morso, has answered the question specifically, succinctly. Teaching and learning, she just blew that away with the various measurements and then beyond that as far as...
And that's funny, because you know what I wrote at the top? Didn't manage time well. I thought she talked too much in some of the
Well, she
questions.
didn't have a half hour afterwards, like...
But that was up to them as to how they responded to those questions, Neil.
Managing time well.
These people here tonight
So-
had, wait a second, no, we're going to address it. They had extra time because they managed the answers to their questions really tightly.
And see, I saw them as not necessarily being that much information that I got for the answers, whereas the other person answered a ton. So I got more satisfactory answers, I thought, from the person who took more time. So that's a matter of perspective. And I'm not going to ding either one of those people for talking a little longer or talking quickly as far as their capability for running a district. But when we're talking about longevity, she has been there quite a bit of 13
We
years.
saw how that worked for us.
13 years. She's been 5.5 as an assistant superintendent. So I would say that if somebody is at the point that they could actually possibly be moving forward, somebody who's been there that long doing something like that may be the right candidate, we don't know. And so, I mean, so I think she's definitely worth checking out and checking out the district and getting that feedback. That's the other thing, if you take a look at some of the other candidates, the longevity, I think, well, some people may say that, you know, we've had a lot of longevity here, and that may be an issue. There's some longevity that really, it hasn't been that long. It's only been a couple years in various positions. And so, to me, that's a concern.
Yep.
Because there's experience issue. In one particular case where, you know, not even 2 years as assistant superintendent, I'm not sure if they're ready to move forward. Love the personality and everything, but not sure if ready to move forward with that little experience under their belt. The same time, we also have other candidates who've only been in the district for a couple of years, and they're saying they're ready to move on. And I think that our district would not be happy if that were to happen again, and we chose somebody that had a short period of time here. So I think there's some things that we all need to really consider, like the full picture, kind of like what Dorothy was saying.
What do you mean?
It's not, she wasn't saying just about how, we're not comparing to each other, we're comparing the individuals and how that's going to fit with the district.
Right.
And so my point being that the longevity issue, if you take a look, it could be, to me,
It could be a
that's a
good
make or
thing.
break
It could
type
be.
of thing.
It could be, but I think what we're doing is putting out
That's right.
what we're comfortable
Mhm.
with moving, with whom we're comfortable moving forward, right?
Right. Mhm.
Yep.
Can we move them all forward?
You can vote, we're gonna vote on each one of them. You can vote to move however many you wanna move forward.
Can I suggest you have a little more discussion about that idea, because I'm afraid, listening to different people, I'm afraid you're going to be limited in who you...
Well, I don't think we're ready to have I mean, I think the discussion still has, we still have, Dorothy still gave us 25 more minutes.
Well, I'd like to say that I feel like they're all qualified individuals in the sense that they're capable, and they've demonstrated, one of the key areas for me is figuring out how to get some kind of consensus in the community at large. So I think that we are blessed with a choice of finding the best fit as distinct from distinguishing between qualified and or capable and non-capable people. And I think that's the shape of our conversation. We're looking for a best fit and seeing that.
And we're not going to know that yet.
Yeah, we won't know that. We actually won't know till a year after they're here.
That is very
That's a fact of life when you hire.
Right.
Yeah, but we have vetting to do.
Right.
Right. That's what I was.
And and I very much do want to do that for at least two and maybe more of the people.
I think we should do it for a minimum of 3.
Well, we could look at a number, or we could look at the candidates and decide who you want to move forward versus the number.
I would also advise, because obviously finance is really important here in this district at this point in time, that we take a look at the individual candidates in their districts, which can be done, simple start just by Googling and looking at the financial documentation that's available. Because we've asked questions about transparency and what the understanding is of transparency and how that went. One of the answers I didn't like at all, and then I thought none of the candidates answered that particular question well. And one I didn't like, just flat out didn't like.
Which was what?
One page that was sent out, and that
On the advice of the school chair.
Yeah, but that was the chair of the school committee.
I get that.
Yeah.
But they did offer all the backup.
But
It wasn't available.
I don't know. I don't know that, and that's what I'm saying. It's good to investigate and figure out what all the backup is.
You're right.
My impression was that it was a sheet, and then there was a flyer, and then the backup was the actual sheet. I'm just saying that's what I heard, and that's why I'm saying I think that due diligence would be needed on our ends to understand what somebody's vision of transparency might actually be in reality.
And,
you know.
and actually, the dissertations and everything, I mean, some of those sounded really, really interesting.
Mhm.
So I was curious about those and how they actually worked and whether they did work. But again, that's further investigation.
The other part that Dorothy said that I think we need to consider too, I know, right?
You want to sit at the table?
Is when I get that part back, I'll, that's all it took.
Well, that's good. I see Kathy Cody Ann sitting there, and she's, I know when you're ready to say something, so say it.
I don't know that I can say it. Because I did exercise some due diligence. I don't know if it was the perfect part in the process. Just in terms of getting a sense of candidates based on what's in their district website. So it doesn't seem to be consistent with what we're doing here. Looking at budgets is one thing, and I've done that, looking at the DESE data, other things, looking at other things on the website that would give some insight into things going on in the district, the way people operate, looking at strategic plans, etc. And all I can say is that it has went into my factoring of the individuals that I want to see go forward.
You done? Do you have anything else you want to share? No? Nicole?
No, I feel like I said my piece.
Everybody's, what? Neil, did you remember?
I still got it. It's hanging out there. So important too.
Okay. I guess we gotta decide. I mean, are you guys ready to vote on who you want to move forward? You don't want more discussion?
Seriously, I want more information.
Well, that's why we go to the next level. So if it's everybody, we go everybody.
We're back.
We're back, and we're back. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, hold on a second. Kathy, are you finished?
Yes.
All right. Neil? We're all waiting.
No, I think this individual isn't going to be doing everything.
Right.
That's out there.
Right.
They need to be able to hire or have or mentor.
Yes.
Bring together a great team.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I'm going to pick on Dr. Bates, but I think from what I'm hearing with the teachers and so forth, he's been doing a great job going out and mentoring and sitting down and working with those individuals to really bring things out to the schools the way that it should be. And that's how I see the next person that comes in operating. Okay, and again, that's why, you know, my thought process was where it was, because I felt that you need people that are going to inspire people, and there's that intangible, that feeling, and that's the feeling that I get.
Are you talking about an individual right now? Because we're talking in generalizations.
I'm going back to, well, any individuals, but I put forward two, and that's part of the rationale that I had, because it was...
Yep.
And you've had the benefit of listening to them twice. So you actually have more information than we do.
Yep.
And I think that's wonderful, but I need more.
No, I agree.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Certainly, one of the things that I want to do is read some minutes for all of these people, or whoever we are interested in. That I want to see what the interactions are like, and likewise look a little bit at the statistics for their districts. And also read some newspaper articles too.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see how they interact with our district when they walk around.
So maybe we do need to push all four forward, bring all four forward.
That's,
How do you feel about that?
I think that's a lot, but we are,
But I think,
none of us have mentioned the same two people.
but remember what Lynn just said is true. You and Neil have had the advantage of, you did Herculean work with all of those
Yes.
folks, but you've heard, this is the second time.
No, I get that, but what I was saying is none of us have mentioned the same two people. I think all of us would like to see
but if you get
more from everybody, and so my frustration is that, yes, 4 is a lot,
I know.
but I don't see right now how we're going to come to any other decision.
Right.
Can you refresh my memory? Who interested you, Lynn?
All of them.
Everybody.
I don't have, they're all very strong, and there
Got
were
it.
pieces of everybody that I really, really liked, but there wasn't enough of one that I could say, because they're all very strong.
Yeah.
So I just need more.
And that's why everyone has different favorites, because
Right.
they're all very strong.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. But
It's all good
to
problems.
say pick 2 tonight, I can't.
All right. So do we need to vote on them individually?
I think if someone's going to make a motion to move all four forward, I think you're okay.
Is that unheard of?
But we always tell screening committees 3 to 5,
Okay.
right? And they gave you 5. You cut down to 4.
Awesome, we're down to 4.
So keep in mind that these 4 folks are gonna come here and we gotta go there. Keep it in mind, do not wanna put people forward and then not give them the courtesy of visiting their districts. If you're gonna do it, you've gotta be respectful. Okay?
Could it be that well, for me, I want to do some research on them at home, and I don't this minute want to yet go out to their districts or invite them here, because I want to understand a little
You
more.
have to do
Fella,
it
we don't have time.
simultaneously. Mark, you've got to do it simultaneously.
Sure.
So,
So I'm speaking in like days, before the weekend is
There's not
over.
that many news articles. I Googled
I know, I did
everyone.
too.
I searced every which way I could.
Yep.
There isn't a lot, there's the district websites, which are interesting, but they, that doesn't, define a whole district as well. But I Googled everyone and there's not a lot.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying is like district websites will give you the exposure that people have had to certain
Things.
philosophies that they may have.
yeah. All right. So again, if whatever the number is, because I would rather not talk about a number, I'd rather talk about the individuals, but if you decide that all 4 are worthy of moving forward, I think they were all really strong. Somebody make a motion and just be prepared to go on for site visits.
And the whole school committee does not necessarily have to go on each site visit.
Understood, but we have to have representation there.
Yes.
And I'm hoping it's more than 1 or 2 people, right?
See, how's that work? Because if we all have individuals that we, and to your point, there's no 2 alike. We have ones, right, but no 2 alike. Right, so we may end up going off to the ones that we like and then not give maybe the one that we didn't have in our line of fire, thinking that.
I think you have to trust each other to come back with good information. And I might also suggest that you try maybe to don't just leap to go into your favorites.
Yeah, because you're already there.
Right.
Well, I am to the level that we're at, but I'm not advocating any individual become superintendent. I'm advocating the next level.
That's
And that
good,
next
because
level is
that's
based
not what
on-
we're doing.
That next level would be based on site visits, and then for me, that would help me make the determination whether that individual, whether my feeling is proving out my feeling or not.
So to your point, I had talked to Dorothy today and said, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna need more, I'll talk to these guys, I'm gonna need more than 1 conversation with these people in a very formal setting. And Dorothy did say that we would be able to, once we get through who we've determined that we'd like to ask to come here and where we want to go, then have another discussion, right? With,
Well, usually what I tell, I mean, usually what I tell candidates when they're arranging a site visit to their district is try and plan some time when you can spend some time with the visitors, where the candidate can spend some time with you,
Yeah.
not just have you, hosted around the district. So that's another opportunity to have more of the conversation not the interview, but the conversation. And you'll be able to observe them when they're here too, at the community meet and greet or, the other. So you'll have more opportunity to see them, not just in that interview setting, but in different settings. And it's, you really do have, as you trusted Neil and Nicole to sit on the screening committee and be your representatives there, you've got to trust each other to be representatives for the rest of the process too, and bring back as, information as unbiased, as thinking about that fit to the district as you can.
Yep.
When I go on the community visits or the, with the principals and the administrative team or the teachers, do those people provide any feedback that gets back to us?
Well, you can, when they come here, you can do, a lot of committees do just some basic feedback form that gets submitted that you get a chance to read through and look at.
We could do a quick Survey Monkey
Usually it's really open-ended.
for us.
No,
Yeah.
So they just
Could do an open-ended survey.
Yeah.
It's easier for
Yeah.
them.
And you might also want paper just in case.
Just as they,
Are we talking about the people in our district?
Yes.
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 I think Survey Monkey.
So, we go to the site, we do a site visit. Who's gonna tell us, don't hire them, they're horrible. Stay away, run.
Well, we give you a list of questions.
Yeah,
And you, like Lynn said, sometimes people can read the room when they're doing the interviews. Maybe you need to do a little bit of reading the room when people are giving you your answers. You also have references that they put down, and you have the ability, for instance, to call school committee members that they work with that aren't on the visit, to, do some liaisons with people that you may know in the different communities. You take someone who, you take Ms. Clenchy, who's not currently working in a school district, but she has worked with school committees. Call them up.
Well, she does have a team that she manages too.
She does have a team that she
So I would want to
manages.
talk to them.
Yep.
When do we do references?
Whenever you want.
So we can do,
we can
Their
start
names
now.
out there, their names are all out there publicly now, so you
Okay.
can do reference checks. And you may want to
coordinate that.
coordinate that, so you're not all calling this.
So why don't you
70
talk us
people.
through how you've seen other committees do that, because we're all a bunch of wanna-knows, right?
So you might split up, you have 4 resumes that each have 3 references listed on them. So just decide who's going to call whom. That would be like 2 people a person, 2 people a person plus a couple, right? Did I do that math right?
Do you wanna do that? You wanna do them
It's a good
tonight?
idea that we don't all call on the same
Oh,
resume.
gosh.
I love that idea.
That would not,
Yeah,
by the time someone gets the 7th call about it,
yeah.
they would not be happy to
Well,
talk to you.
no, what I'm saying is that I don't call Brooke Clenchy and she calls
Oh,
all of the
right,
Patricia
right, right.
Lollies. I'm like, I get 1 Brooke Clenchy and 1 Jahmal Mosley. And she gets, 1 Patricia Lolly and 1 Brooke Clenchy.
So, you
I
don't
can
have to
just
do that
assign.
before you leave tonight.
Yes.
You can,
I'll sign them.
someone can take responsibility for dividing up the list and getting the names out to people.
Actually, can we give that to the personnel subcommittee to just,
We're meeting next week, we can put that together if you want.
Is it too late?
I think we need to get it done quick. And the reason I think is because if they come here and tour our schools, our district next week, and then we go to their district the following week, then we've got to.
Because school vacation.
Okay, it's the last week of,
Yeah.
now we're in the last week of April,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Ouch, and we said that we would be done by beginning of May.
When is Rhode Island's school vacation?
They have it with the Easter, usually occurs
Yeah, so
Easter
we might
week.
be able to
We do
visit her.
Patriots' Day for their April vacation, they do it when Easter is, so they have Good Friday and then the week after that typically.
So they've
That
already
was
had.
last March.
Yeah, they've had it.
They already, really?
A lot of places attach it to
Do we have
Good
to
Friday and Easter. Yes, they do.
So,
2 weeks vacation?
so going back to the references, I want to get that,
When we're doing the calls, could we put it where you might be calling, one person would call one reference of a candidate that they are looking to put forward, that they've already suggested. Another person who did not have that candidate to put forward would then do the next reference call. I mean, just to kind of get, so we kind of take inherent biases maybe out of this a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And just, I don't know if that makes sense,
Yeah, it
but I
does.
mean,
Yep.
just,
It does.
I'm thinking as you're talking.
Yeah.
That's why I got this blank look. I'm actually processing.
So something that you lose if you have different people calling for the same person
agreed.
is that if there's some story, you may only get one facet of some story, and some other reference may have another facet, and they're not received by the same individual.
But we're gonna have questions. We're gonna have different
Yeah, I'll get you
questions.
questions to ask.
Thank you.
All right, how about if I put a list together?
Yeah, and we should ask the same questions too,
I
right?
can get you a list of typical questions that are asked on a reference check.
So is your list exhaustive? Oh, all right, so you can send that out to all of us? That would be great. And then we'll get a list of, I have the list of the folks you guys each wanted to move forward. So your point was, so,
For instance, I suggested Ms. Morso.
right.
And you said, no way. And so.
I didn't
what I'm
say
saying-
no way.
That's what I heard. And so what I'm saying is,
He puts words in everybody's mouth.
what I'm saying is, you would call one reference, I would call one
Right.
reference. And that way around the entire thing, because
Right.
it takes inherent biases of, you know, those questions I thought this person answered so awesomely, they did, you know? I mean, you know, and, I mean,
I was totally right.
yeah.
I told you I was right.
Exactly.
Dorothy, can you make
Kathy.
sure you write these out in bold so he's not leading them?
All right, Kathy, go ahead.
There are the references given with their applications, and then, I'm sorry, I can't remember the guy's name that was with us last week.
Jim?
Oh,
Jim.
Yep.
Yeah, he said that you can go beyond those and make calls.
Ask with your mom.
That's why, I would, you know, things like, just to, not to pick on Brooke Clenchey, but people who, school committee members that she worked for in Ashland.
But do we have to coordinate that, or can we just do it on our own?
I would say probably more on your own
Okay.
rather than coordinated, because you, I mean, you may know people that other, you know, the rest of them wouldn't know to talk to. You know, people may know someone in Smith, one of you may know someone who lives in Smithfield, someone may know someone who lives in Holbrook, you know, to.
All right, so I have to ask this then, because if we're going to call references that are listed, and we want to find out how that person's doing that particular job, one of the candidates has references that they've given, could be wrong if I missed any, but that were before they actually held the administrative position. So they can't really talk to how that person's done in that position. They can only speak to how that person's done in a previous position and their relationship with
Is
that.
the previous position more relevant to this position than their current position?
Principal versus assistant
Oh,
superintendent.
okay.
So are we able to request of that candidate more recent references?
I don't see why not.
I mean, does that
I
make
mean,
sense?
I think you should
Does
look
that-
at his list.
I just asked, I could be wrong. I
Yeah,
said I
so,
could miss that.
yeah.
So did I miss that?
Yes, because
Let me ask you,
the letters are
Yeah.
The
not,
letters were,
but
okay.
the references
Okay,
are.
all right, yep.
So if you, I mean, you could call the people who wrote the letters and ask more.
Okay, perfect.
So I wonder, dear Chair, if we should quiz our superintendent if he has any points of view to offer.
Oh, Dr. Bates, will you come join us at the table?
Look how happy
Anita, would you like to join us this evening too?
You've got 3 minutes.
I'd like to do it. Are you serious? You are seriously doing that to me?
Yes.
There's a new person at the table, you've got the hour.
Oh, yes, thank you, Lynn.
What?
What? Would you like to give us your input
On what?
on what you saw over the past 2 evenings?
No.
You wouldn't?
No.
Okay,
I don't think it's fair.
that's your answer. He said no.
I don't think it's fair. This is your decision. I'm happy to help in any way, but I don't think I should be.
Well, I just respectfully, I know I want you to know, I'm not gonna let you make the decision. We just want an
I'm
input.
not saying, but one of the things, my experience on visits,
Yep,
when you do a site visit, when I've done site visits, it really shows me an awful lot of how the candidate arranges, who they choose, what they how they set everything up, who they choose, how they do it. It will tell you an awful lot.
Oh,
Yes,
that's good. Thank you.
absolutely,
That's helpful.
absolutely.
And you'll see, each one will do it differently.
yeah, we do need to go to, oh God, that's a whole day, right? Okay.
But it really, it will show their personality.
Yep,
It will show just the people they choose
yep.
that you are going to meet. And then, as Dorothy said, there'll be a time for you just to sit with that candidate casually and just
That's good.
dialogue.
That's what, I think that's what we need. We really do.
In their environment. And sometimes they let their guards down, and you'll see something that you didn't see before.
All right, that sounds good. So I think at this point, I think I've got everybody, I made a checklist, I think I've got everybody's, I'll give you one you're really in love with and one you have. And in the case of Lynn, you'll get whatever you get because she's the flower child today. You're welcome. But I still think that, all right, and the other thing, Dorothy, you told me we needed to do.
What do you want to see?
Who do you want to see? Yeah. Who do we want to see at their schools?
Yes.
So I want to see.
Input on that one?
I want to see. Do we get to observe a classroom or anything? No. I mean, not the class, but can we talk to teachers? Can
They
we?
will bring.
Yeah, go ahead.
They will set up, and they'll,
Okay.
teachers, they'll have parents, it could be a PTO president,
Oh, good.
it could be another principal, it could be their superintendent, assistant
And their
superintendent, whatever.
school committee
anyone- A
members?
school committee member, whatever.
We need that.
So Dr. Bates, you're suggesting let them bring the people to the table.
That's up to Dorothy.
I mean, we usually have some,
agree, that's-
what I've done is say, here's who the school committee wants to see. If you think there are additional people you'd
Add
like
that
them
in,
to
right.
see, then set it up.
Hmm.
So you probably particularly want to talk to, if they're not the sitting superintendent, you want to talk to their boss.
I gotta throw this out. I really want to talk to the superintendent's admin.
Okay?
Could we see somebody from the town?
Yep.
Like a
Selectman.
selectman or a
A
FinCom or
selectman or a
something?
town
Municipal
administrator or
official,
somebody,
yeah.
somebody.
Teachers union,
I think someone from the Teachers Association, certainly.
parents.
Yes. So the parents would probably be the student council? Or
It's up to them to
parent-
choose.
It's up to
It's
them.
totally up to them
You say
to
parents,
choose.
Okay.
they pick the parents. School committee members.
Mm-hmm.
Who's missing from this? Teachers?
We
Oh, that would be union. Yeah, that
Well,
would
the
be union.
Teachers Association.
Yeah. Who's missing? Administrators that work for them?
Yep.
Such as a business manager or a director or somebody.
Do you want to see if we got that? Do you want to see if you?
I don't know how pertinent that is, unless it's the director of facilities or something like that. If it were a building principal, certainly.
So let me ask you, for Brooke Clenchy, she obviously doesn't have a district to show you. So do you want to let her put together people that she works with that would be appropriate?
I mean, how long has she been out of the district?
2 years out
2 years.
But she doesn't have a
Ashland.
district, she can't call Ashland and say, I'm bringing a
Coming in.
group of people.
No, but she can call, we could give her, I mean,
Yeah, but she may not be able to go to, you're gonna ask people to go from Ashland to Malden so that you can see.
no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I think you need to talk to people that she's working with now and have her go to.
But that puts her at a huge disadvantage. I think if we are not able to speak with anybody in an educational
Well,
setting.
that's why you're making phone calls.
Or an
Not fair.
advantage.
It's not
It could go the other way, too.
Well, she was a superintendent for 11 years. She had a lot of years.
Right.
Yeah, and she
Right,
must
but if
have,
we can't talk to anybody from any of the districts.
Well, you can, you just
can.
can't do
Yeah,
it as a site visit. Call
Right,
them
well, so we can't do it as a site visit,
Right.
we
Yeah.
can just do
the
it.
old
Yeah.
school committee.
Okay.
up. You had, somebody had this.
So we can ask for individuals then from her.
You can ask for additional
Like,
references.
it's not
Yeah.
necessarily going to be easy to find former school committee members or things like that, but she may have.
I talked to one of her former school committee members a month ago.
Mhm.
She called me. I
Okay.
don't think it's gonna be hard to find those people.
She called you unrelated to the search.
Unrelated to the search. I didn't bring up the search because I didn't know at the time.
Right. Okay.
Although it might not be a tour perhaps for folks at Ashland, but would it be reasonable to ask if we could meet with her permission, leading individuals at their, in Ashland, whether it's the superintendent or perhaps others in the district that are still there?
I think you would need to do phone calls. I think you would need to do it by phone calls. And I don't, if it's essentially a reference check, you don't need her permission.
True.
Would we visit her where she's working now? Well, we get a feel of how she interacts there. right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, yeah, because she has a team, right? She
Oh,
has a
alright.
staff.
Okay.
Yep.
So it gives us some idea of how she works.
Yeah.
Now, what about any administration that might be working there now? That she may have, it's only been 2 years, so maybe a principal that she hired or something in the district?
Yeah, you can
Could
talk
we
to them.
identify?
Yeah,
You know,
I'll just do a site visit.
Yeah. It would be a little bit intrusive to that district.
Okay. All right, so we still need to vote. Somebody needs to make a motion.
I make a motion that we visit for
That we
candidates.
put forward,
Move forward for candidates?
all four candidates.
All four candidates.
We need to use their names.
Oh.
For a second.
You want to make the motion?
No.
I second.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? Oh boy, how'd that happen? 2. The motion passed.
Kathy, am I right?
Yep. All right, it passed. We're going. They're coming.
Okay.
Thank
I'll
you,
get to
Dorothy.
work. I will get to work.
So,
Excuse
you're
me.
setting up the visits?
Hold on 1 second.
I will, yes, the week after vacation.
Well, that's fast to
So-
go there. What about?
I'll work with Dr. Bates
Oh,
and Alita to get that set up. The week after, I'll call the 4 candidates, find 4 days, and those will be the days, and hopefully, some of you will be available each of those days.
We'll do our best.
The visits here, do we go around at all, or we just wait to the end when there's a meeting of the minds at the end of the day?
You don't shadow them. There may be a time when you are the person who brings them from building to building or acts as host, but they're not shadowed by the school committee when they're here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, is there going to be it sounds like all the principals are going to get together and talk, and we kind of sit in the background and kind of listen?
No, we'll get a feedback sheet.
Okay.
Get a few notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I mean, you're not shadowing them.
See the fly on the wall, I just want to see.
You have to depend on the other flies to catch it.
All right, did you have a quick,
I did, not to run you over the 8 minutes you're already over. But,
thank you, Dorothy.
for the 4 candidates that are coming here, is to hope that they are all going to meet with a town administrator.
I think we should try to
I
say.
think so. If we're gonna meet with, if we're asking to meet with their folks, I would think that we, and selectmen.
Well, good luck with that, but my point is that if you're going to be fair to those 4 candidates, whichever of the 3 town administrators they meet with, it should probably be the same town administrator. Otherwise,
You think so?
I do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think it's fair.
For us to get the feedback.
We're going to need to find if one of the 3 of us is going to be available for all 4.
Are you volunteering?
No.
I think you.
I'm not saying
No, he was on the screening committee.
I'm not saying no, I'm just saying, the 3 of us are really, really busy. And to try to get one of us to where you got 4 dates that are good is going to be really hard. For 4 candidates.
But you've got, we'll work on
It's going to be really hard.
it. Okay.
All right, more to come, that's on Dorothy. That's on you. Thank you. I think we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.